We've polluted the Milky Way galaxy with completely unwatchable content. Fearing these signals will spread beyond our galaxy, Captain S and the 01 Legion have headed to Earth to destroy the source of this woke mind virus.
Folks, here we are, the end of 2023. You've made it, and I guarantee you, no matter what, you had a better year than both Warner Brothers, DC, and Marvel. Okay, that was 3, but you know what I mean.
Oh, hey, it's me, Josh, mate. Pip, pip, cheerio, tea and crumpets.
I was told to make an intro. There you go.
And of course,
Spencer's
no one can
mic
hear what
isn't
Spencer
working.
is saying.
Mm-hmm.
For a second there, I literally thought you had I had to make an intro. I thought that was part of it because you said it the exact same way last week. And I was like so thrown for a second. You can just say hello. I mean,
Hi.
You definitely need, if you're on the show, you got to have an intro. You're part of the crew. You're an official part of the crew. So
Right.
we're going to recognize that. With that said, hello, everybody. Welcome to another Wednesday night. Welcome to another episode of the 01 stream here at Bounding Into Comics. I am your host, Editor-in-Chief Spencer Bakuli. I am joined by my friends, my co-hosts, my co-workers, some of the best guys around. We have Cider and we have Jacob of Society Reviews down below us. How are you guys doing tonight?
Yep.
You know, Cider, if you need a promo intro, just go watch old 1980s pro wrestling promos, like the Ultimate Warrior, Macho Man, Randy Savage, and just recreate that. That's all you gotta do.
I don't have any little cream packets though, so I have to order those and then never use them because I'm allergic. But you know,
you'll have to like start the stream outside and like jump up and down on a car and hit it with a bat, and then like run really fast inside,
or drive a semi into the side of an ambulance. Right, that'll a couple times.
Those old promos that look like they already been in a 50-minute match before the match has even started.
Yeah, that one. Yeah,
the ones where they're actually working every day instead of spending like 7 hours a day on Twitter telling you that you should like their match because whatever reason.
Yeah,
right.
See, guys back in those days just did cocaine and died at 40 like real men. And now it's just whiny pussy.
You won't see Razor Ramon on Twitter. He's not gonna have a
especially not now,
right? Not with that kind of attitude. We can bring it back. It's time for a revival. Time for a Razor Ramon reboot.
Yep.
We already got it in Wakanda. But yes, guys, welcome to our last show of the year. It's been a crazy ride. We've had so much garbage, so much awfulness to get through, but we've made it. I hope you guys had a great Christmas season or Christmas holiday. I definitely know I did. Tonight, we have so much to talk about. We are going to talk about the latest uproar in the anime manga translator community. We are going to talk about Aquaman 2, which I know Jacob has seen. Cider, have you seen it?
No.
No.
Okay, you're the lucky one here then. So we'll talk about that for a little bit, and then we will close out the show with a discussion. Jacob put out his 10 best movies list tonight, so he'll walk us through that. And we haven't edited it and published it yet, but he'll probably also walk us through his 10 worst, which I know I'm super excited to get into. And yeah, and that is what I think we have on deck for tonight. So before we get into the show proper, I think, as always, let's say hello to the chat. We have oh, I'm on the wrong comment thing. We have RJ McCready saying a late entry, but The Iron Claw is one of the better 2023 movies. I have heard nothing but good things about that movie. I haven't checked out your review yet, Jacob. What did you like? What did you think of it?
I thought it was a very, very good film. I gave it a very strong rating. However, there is one, I gotta be honest here, there's one big flaw with the movie, and if you're not a pro wrestling fan, you probably won't notice it, but if you are a pro wrestling fan, you are definitely going to notice it, and that's the one big flaw about the film, but we'll talk about it as we get into it tonight.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I really wanted to see The Iron Law very, very much. And that's a joke to the fact that Cider uploaded the review wrong yesterday with a typo. But yeah, no, I've heard it's a great movie. I've heard
that could be his wrestling name, The Iron Law.
The Iron Law. Oh my gosh, that'd be kind of cool.
Literally comes in with a legal book. It's this foreign object, just hits people in the head and costs them the match.
a legal book or like a gavel. I was thinking you could give him like one of the old judges' wigs, like that. I can see Cider wearing like a judge's wig and just like throwing chairs at people. I would watch hours of that, way more than I would watch any current.
Move over, Judge Judy.
Is she still going? Does she still have a show?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, good for her. She deserves it.
They put the corpse on strings, so you can't tell the difference.
No, of course. And then we're getting to the AI point. She'll just go all digital like in 2 years. It's fine. It's nothing to worry about. We have DZ3 saying hello, everybody. Hello, DZ. How's it going, buddy? Dante Arix. I don't know how to. I think it's Eric's. Evening, folks. He says Godzilla -1 is the best movie of 2023. I definitely know it's up there. I definitely think it's on. Yeah, I think it made Jacob's list, and everybody else I know, it's definitely on their list too. I haven't seen it yet, so it's not on mine. I got to try and see it before. What is it, Jacob? Is it Saturday? Your Saturday show where we're gonna have a whole big old discussion?
Yeah,
with
Saturday is gonna be the big year in review show. So
yeah. So I got to watch it before then. But yeah, nothing but good things about that Iron Claw. It seems we've got a lot of strong contenders here at the end of the year rather than anywhere prior to like November, right? Like everything's, or maybe like August. Everything else seems to have come out pretty recently that everybody wants to talk about. We have Henry Thrun saying, hey guys, he saw Aquaman 2 a couple days ago. I liked it. Speak no evil. I think he knows his transgression. No, I'm kidding, Henry. Don't worry. If you like the movie, it's not, let's just put it this way. It's not the worst thing I think I've ever seen, but it's pretty blasé.
Put it to you this way. I literally just did the review on it like 4 days ago. I forgot what I said in that review. It's that forgettable.
Dude, I watched it like Friday night. And then yesterday when we all came back into the office and got back to our desks, Josh was talking to me about it and he's like, did you watch the movie? And I went, yeah, but I couldn't tell you anything about it. And he was like telling me all these things, like, remember this scene, remember that scene. And I was like, barely. I think so. We'll get into that movie because that movie is a disaster and a half.
Yeah.
We have Flying Pin checking in from Twitter. What's going on? Flying Pin saying JK, not entirely. I think maybe there was another comment somewhere, but we also have JEC saying hello, JEC. What's going on? Yes, Volume Dealer. We are streaming on Twitter. We are on Twitter, YouTube, and are we reconnected to Rumble, Cider?
No, I'm still working on getting access to that. That has the wrong screen name on it still.
Yeah. So we'll be back there soon. But yes, we're trying to stream to as many avenues as possible so that you guys won't miss the show and we can talk to as many of you as possible. JC says, I saw no movies this year. I don't feel I missed out on anything. You missed out on like 3 things, I would say, like actually missed out on. Like obviously Godzilla's one of them. I would say maybe Oppenheimer, and then obviously everything else from there is like an opinion thing, and we'll get into it. But I think that if you missed anything, it might be those 2. But yeah, JC, it's not like this was a run out to see everything at the box office kind of year. I mean, we haven't had that kind of year in years, like a decade probably. Let's see. Henry says, yeah, I had fun. The global warming stuff was annoying, but at least there wasn't any LGBT stuff. See, it's like that's the thing. It's
I
like
don't know. It's like which one is more annoying at this point? Because like the global warming stuff is just equally as annoying to me at this point.
Dude, just to roll my eyes at like one of the main things about that movie that I cannot get over, and before we get into it, is the main weapon villain of this movie is literally weaponized greenhouse gases. Like that is the plot of the movie, and it's they don't explain what they are. It's just greenhouse gases being focused like a gun into the atmosphere. It's pretty insane. Let's see. Swift Mark says only saw Sound of Freedom in Godzilla. That's about it. I think that's what a lot of people in our sphere are probably going to, it's either like those two, maybe like one or two others, probably like the other being
maybe
Oppenheimer.
You saw Oppenheimer, yeah. Something like
yeah,
that.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. But aside from that, those are the main three to hit. JEC says, I'm not a big Nolan guy. I'm not either. But I think with Oppenheimer, I think because he sort of couldn't, like, it was based on something real, so he couldn't go all wacky, and he had sort of like a script to go off of. I think that made the film a little more tolerable, because I'm right there with you. All of his movies go the same way.
He's very hit and miss. And like I say, either his movies are like really, really good, or you'll get something like Tenet, which is just like, how does the same guy even like make this movie? Because that one was awful.
I couldn't believe all the people who were like, oh, you got to go see Tenet in the theaters. This is a theater movie, pandemic, blah, blah, blah. We got to go. This is the thing that's going to save cinema. And I was just like, I don't really care. I'll catch it later. And when I eventually caught it, I was just like, this was the thing everybody was raving about. Like, it looks cool. Like, the effects are great, but overall, it's just sort of dumb. Like, it didn't make any sense.
It was very nonsensical, overcomplicated. It was the whole Hollywood's classic idea of trying to sound smarter than it actually is. It's like,
yes, yes, that's exactly. I think that's a lot of what you could say about Nolan. I want to say like that's his film style, is being smarter, or like pretending he's smarter than the source material actually is. And when that happens, it just starts going. Once you start trying to make too much sense of stuff, it ends up being more ridiculous, because it pokes more, like, the more you define something, the more it can be like broken apart. I'm not finding the right analogy or words here, but I think you guys all know exactly what I mean. Like, the less malleable something is, I don't know.
So he's like Rick and Morty for people who drink decaf. Is that what I'm registering?
He's no, he's Rick and Morty for people who drink decaf and like still read the New Yorker. That's who.
Oh yeah, Nolan. There you go. Right, yeah, that's his audience, huh?
JC says Memento is my favorite Nolan movie. Yeah, like I would say, gosh, I'm trying to even really think. Probably Oppenheimer now.
For me, it was Oppenheimer.
Dunkirk was cool.
And Dunkirk was my top two from him. So yeah.
Yeah, I like his Batman films are fine, but I'm not a big fan of them. Like, they're good movies, but like, to me, it's just not Batman. And then of course we get into Rises, and it all just sort of gets really, 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 really messy, and everything goes downhill. And then, yes, unfortunately, Volume Dealer, you are one of the I'm sure a lot of people also experienced this selection of films this year, which is Ant-Man and Guardians 3. Yeah,
no one went to go see the Marvels.
I think you and I might be the only people on this entire show, even in the after watch and everything, who have seen that movie.
Yep.
But yeah, like, Ant-Man was awful. I can't believe that was this year. Like, that seems so long ago, especially with like all the Jonathan Majors stuff. Look at that. Less than a year, his career collapsed because he thought he was a great man.
He was gonna be Kang.
He was Kang. He was Kang's.
Like, okay, look, I know we're gonna get into this later on, but it's like like, I know this is a meme at this point, the whole "we was kings" thing, but when you get like 5 minutes in, not even 5 minutes, may have been like 2 minutes into the color purple, and it's literally like, in Africa we were queens. I'm just like, oh god,
dude, they didn't.
They
really
did like 2 minutes into the movie.
Heck,
and I'm just like,
heck yeah. God. The like doing the whole woman king, Cleopatra rewrite, all that junk stuff. Was Woman King this year or last year?
Last year.
Okay. I can't. All of it runs together.
This year could not have handled the Barbie movie and
right?
Woman King in the same. It would not have survived.
All the liberal arts colleges would be aflamed. Yeah, Veritas Eterna says, I won't give money to companies anymore until they have morals and don't worship money. And I think
I guess you just won't be giving your money to companies anymore. I think that's what you're
right.
saying.
That's what I was gonna say. I was like, I guess that means you're gonna have to start checking out indies, because we're never going to get to a point where these companies value, morals or creativity or anything but the dollar. Right?
Like, we're not, people have to understand, it's like we're not under the old school Hollywood studio system anymore. It's like all of those studios have been swallowed up by corporations now. So it's like, it's the Disney Corporation, it's the Comcast Corporation, it's the Warner Brothers Corporation, it's the Sony Corporation. Like, that's pretty much what Hollywood has become.
And as we're seeing, like, it's only getting worse with the whole rumors of Paramount and Warner merging. And then we know we've had for a long time, there have been rumors of Comcast buying somebody, right? Or getting into the mix, or like buying Disney, Amazon buying, like, it's all, like you say it all the time, Jacob. In 2 or 3 years, we're only going to have 2 or 3 companies telling us like what we can watch and everything we can do. And they all these companies share to Veritas.
It's going to be Apple and Comcast, and those are going to be the only 2 studios remaining.
It's going to be Apple, Comcast. Everything is going to be race swapped. Everything is going to be Rings of Power. Everything is going to have a Barbie America Ferrera monologue. Like, that's the future.
Think of it like this. It's going to be like WWF right after it bought WCW and ECW.
Oof. It's which is disastrous. Like, it wasn't a good move. It wasn't a good time for everybody there. It was a mess of contracts. It was a mess of, like, what do we do with everything? Like, let's make everything work, and nothing worked.
It's like, when WCW got bought by WWF, it was like there was like 2 or 3 million people who spent the last like 5 years watching Monday nights every week, going, okay, I guess I'm gonna have to like go get a job or go outside now, because there's nothing else to watch on Mondays anymore. So.
Don't ask questions. Just consume product and then get excited for next product.
The ratings just like plummeted. The employment rate went up at the same time. What's the correlation? Let's see. Veritas, Race Bait Purple. I'm presuming that's what the movie, like all of it is. I mean, it's a race story in the first place, but I'm presuming this version is like way more ham-fisted, way more, Twitter rhetoric.
We could talk about it when we get there, but they somehow suppressed. It's not saying it's not there, because it's definitely there, but they did suppress the race-based aspect of it to hammer in more of the men are bad aspect of it. So.
Oh, there it is. That's what I was waiting for. I mean,
this was a movie.
This was a story, or this was a movie featuring Halle Bailey. Like, it. Of course, it was going to go that way.
So the message of the film was that you're not
Fish Girl.
Yep.
I'm trying. I was trying to do like put my eyes wider, and I realized
you were trying to do North and South Korea with your face, and it didn't work out.
And that.
It's okay. I can do it.
Well, see, that's just it. It's like, is that racism? I don't know.
Well, I mean, he is Asian, so he could get away with it. I mean,
see, I'm just
what
like,
we mean. That's what we mean.
I
don't know. No. Okay, so we'll talk about the color purple once we eventually get to it. But I think this is a really good point and a good jumping off section for our first story. JEC says, I might go see The Boy and the Heron with my brother while he's in town, but that's about it. So if you guys don't know, Boy and the Heron is the latest film from Miyazaki, Studio Ghibli anime film. It's doing great out here. It's taken home lots at the box office. I don't think it's like setting any records, but it's doing pretty well. People are enjoying it. I've heard it's okay from people I know who've watched it. It's more Miyazaki. It's sort of like at least the way I've seen Studio Ghibli films are, you've seen one, you've almost sort of seen them all. They all have different settings and visuals and all that stuff, but they all sort of follow the same basic formula, which is why a lot of people have like one favorite Ghibli film, and then the others are sort of like, those are all good, but this is my favorite one.
I'll say this, obviously there's a lot of bad movies out there, and we've talked about one film flopping after another. We'll talk about Aquaman here in the course of the night, but I think what you have seen very, very subtly this year with films like this one, Godzilla, Sound of Freedom, is that you're starting to see just a little bit of glimpses of how Hollywood used to work, because the way that the system used to work is like, hey, you get a movie, put like $10 million like into it, not a whole bunch of money, but it goes out there, it gets good word of mouth, it starts building momentum. The next thing you know, you got a movie that's hit like $100 million, at the box office, which in current times doesn't seem like a lot of money, but it's like 20 years ago, if you had a film made $100 million, like that was considered a smash hit. Like that used to be like the benchmark for studio back in the old studio system.
In entertainment in general, all of these production prices have just gone ballistic. Like we're on the verge of a collapse on so many industries, because we're just getting to the point where the production costs and time outweigh whatever profit you might recoup from it. During Insomniac Games leaks from these past couple weeks, they released as part of those leaks, the information came out that Marvel Spider-Man 2 costs like something in the ballpark of like $320 million to make, which is a full $30 million more than No Way Home. The full budget.
And that had 3 Spider-Mans in it.
It had 3 Spider-Mans. You also had to pay Jamie Foxx. You had to pay everybody to come back. And it still costs less than this game that has kind of fallen off the radar. It didn't win anything at the Game Awards, which doesn't really mean anything to like us as players, but that's what the industry wants. They want that. It's like the Oscars, right? Like we don't really care.
It's a JD Power Award. It doesn't mean anything.
No, come on. That's the only award I believe in, Cider. That's the only one I can place my faith in. I always open up the new award in time for Toyotathon, and I just make sure I'm up to date on the latest truck news. Come on, don't ruin that one for me. But I think with this, to that entire end about creativity and anime and the fact that this is one of the only films people really want to see. Cider, do you have the story ready for us to look at?
Is this the one?
Bum. Yes, it is. So I'm just going to kind of give a recap, because it's not a very... If I read it verbatim, it's very easy to just recap to you guys. Obviously, you can read the full story here at Bounding Into Comics. So Cider, if you just want to, you can navigate us around however you want, whichever images you need. So little recap, and Cider, you can sort of help me with this, because, or actually here, I'm going to start with the story, and then because I was going to bring up the green text, Cider, but we can talk about that afterwards, because I think that's a better addressed after. So this situation, in case you guys didn't know, there is a manga out there called The Ancient Magus's Bride. It's a cute sort of little fantasy romance adventure story. It's a nice sort of slice of lifey book. Recently, the manga they announced that with their chapter last week, all of their chapters going forward, they would be using a combination of AI and human editors to produce English language simulpubs. So, have the English language version come out at the same time as the Japanese version for The Ancient Magus's Bride. And according to the publisher, Bushi Road Works, they said that this was all done in an effort to combat piracy, right? Because it takes too long to, you put out the chapter, then you send it overseas, and it gets translated, then you got to, send it back and forth, blah, 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 and then it gets finally approved and it goes out. Too much time there. It leaves, when fan translators can grab the page, go, there you go. Here's the new chapter, right the day after. No money is going to the official people. I mean, we've all probably, if you read manga, you've probably read some manga this way. It's kind of just how the ecosystem is. But in an effort to combat that and, provide their readers with an easy way to get these English translations, the publisher said, all right, we're going to use AI, we're going to use humans, let's go. And so this all sort of kicked off because of Anime News Network. So Anime News Network, when they covered this story, they headlined their coverage Ancient Magus' Bride to use AI translation for simulpubs. That's all they said. Except, and that omits a big fact, which is the publisher specifically said, we are going to be using AI and human editors. Like, there are going to be people there who look at what the AI spits out and go, check it against that text and go, yeah, that translated okay, that makes sense, yada, yada, yada. Cool. Let's run with it. They're not just going to plug it into Google Translate and send it out the door like they did with that, the Common Writer Kuga translations they did earlier this year. They did exactly that. I knew you would remember, Cider. But so that news went out from Anime News Network, and as soon as it started going viral, we had all the, not only just like a huge wave of English or Japanese to English translators come out and speak, start crying about it, but you also had just the most notorious people. You had people like Katrina Leodonikis. You had, like, that's the main one I can remember off the top of my head. But this was basically a turn the lights on in the room and all the cockroaches scatter moment. Because now, in the face of this announcement, Japanese to English translators have started screeching about, how could you do this? You're getting rid of the human element. You're disrespecting the original work. Oh my gosh, you're going to lose so much in translation when we, between a Japanese and English thing with machines, because they don't understand nuance. And it's like, look, if you've been paying attention to anime or manga, like localization, even video game, anything localization, specifically from Japan to America or Japan to English, you guys will have noticed that over the past, I mean, it's been a problem forever, but so the problem has always been when these translations are made, localizers kind of tend to go a little wild in their translations. Obviously, they're trying to make it appeal to an audience who exists here, but that philosophy sort of doesn't really exist anymore now that we've become more accustomed to foreign works. We have the internet, we can talk to people, culture is right at the tip of our fingertips, as well as Culture Casino. But with all, that's how the localization should be done. And in the past, it did result in some pretty janky translations. Sometimes people went wild. But what's happened in the last probably like 4 or 5, maybe even, I would probably even chance to say 10 years, is that localizers, like Japanese to English localizers, have gotten cocky, so to speak. So what they've started doing is treating these works as their own projects that they are in charge of creating and sharing the narrative for, right? And that's not what you should be doing in these instances. You should be, if you're localizing something, you're taking, they went to Tokyo Tower. When you localize it, put a little note in there that says like, hey, Tokyo Tower is a landmark or something. What you don't do is say, oh, they're going to Tokyo Tower, and change it to something like they're going to the haunted, haunted hotel, the tower, right? Like, oh, yeah. Poggers. Like, you don't do things like that.
Well, I have a better example right here.
All right, drop it for me. Which example are we rocking today?
So this is from
Pokemon, right?
I believe so.
Pokemon?
I think so. Like I'm not sure, but yeah. I can't be sure. It's a Japanese game, as you can see, and this is the fan translation. The fan translation says, against me as I am now, a foolish old man would lose quickly, simply and completely. The internet is, I can easily, quickly, and thoroughly defeat a stupid old man. And here's the English localizers who were paid to do this. They said, underestimate me and I'll thrash you before you can say adult diaper, you dour-faced fart factory. I'll leave you with plenty of time to make it the senior discount night at the country buffet.
Oh, God, dude, that's worse than 4 kids.
Dude, it's worse than 4 kids. That's like Marvel level writing right there. Like that localization. Just why are you throwing in these jokes? Why are you ran roughshod over the entire original thing to the point where it's not even close to what they were saying, right? And this extends to more than just stupid jokes or stupid little quips and insults like this. Like it's basically gotten to the point where if these localizers, who almost are always, super neoliberal, Californian, always on Twitter, always fighting the leftist fights, vote blue no matter who types, if something goes against their sensibilities, they will straight up just, they will do what they can to change it, to axe it, to run, like, just eradicate it. And like, for me, some of the examples I always remember of this is in Fire Emblem, I believe it's either Awakening or Engage. In that game, there's a mechanic where you can have two characters talk to each other, and it builds a friendship bond, and it makes them stronger in battle, when they're fighting alongside each other. In one interaction, there is a small flirtation between, like, an older teacher and a, like, 17, 18-year-old student. And it's nothing even that bad. It's just your sort of, schoolyard, like, oh, you're cute, Mr. blah, blah, blah. And then, like, oh, thank you for that, blah, things like that. And in the English version, they cut all of the dialogue completely, to the point where this exchange, which maybe had like 20 unique, like, dialogue boxes during the whole interaction, all of them were replaced with just dots. Dot, 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 dot. And then at the very end, your friendship rank, it rose. All right. And then you've also got
it almost sounded like they just gave up.
Oh, right. No, that's what it really feels like. Like, it doesn't feel like there's any effort being put into these. And then, of course,
it's like when you lie on your job application, but you can't admit that you lied. So it's like, how can I get around this? Oh, I got it.
Right, exactly. Like, and that's when you go out and you, like, create, like, fake Facebook profiles for the old companies, just so you don't get caught in your lie. And that's essentially what they're doing here. But then the other one I always remember is from Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid, where there's a funny scene where one of the characters, who typically dresses in a maid outfit, and because of the maid outfit, she's, you can see her chest, it's defined very well, she's a very busty character. She shows up at the door of another character, knock knock. Character B opens the door and goes, whoa, you're dressed like, what's with the outfit, like, today? Because when she opens the door, the maid character is wearing, like, a sweater and, like, jeans, just normal clothes. And she's like, whoa, what's with the outfit? And the other character says, like, oh, I just felt like changing today, like, and, no big deal. And then the character B makes a little joke about, like, well, if you don't change back soon, the fans are going to be complaining next week. And, just a fun little quip like that, little fourth wall break thing there. In English, when they got a hold of it, it turned into, what's with that costume? Oh, I changed to avoid those pesky patriarchal socio-male dominated standards that are just so damaging to our society. Oh, well, you better change back next week, or they'll complain.
Insert things clearly Japan did not write here.
Right. It's exactly. It's
yeah. I got a good example of that. You remember Shaman King, right?
Yes.
So they're re-releasing it, and they've changed things. So this is the original text, and it's something about a battle. And it says, "Sigh, men are so cruel when it comes to things like this. If they don't hit each other, they wouldn't even know how to say hi." Now, this is a fan translation. Now here comes the official. It says, clearly, 600 years ago, men were as stupid as they are now. The same homophobic rituals to obscure the fact that they have feelings.
Bleh.
Doesn't that just make you want to buy Shaman King so it can browbeat you?
Aren't you just so excited for that? Here's another one we've covered before that I always remember because it's pretty egregious. But in the series Twin Star Exorcist, there's a scene where basically one of the fighters is like she's like a hot-headed female, and they're about to fight like a boss. And before they leap into battle, she sort of tells, like, oh, your guys' techniques are all like her friends. She's like, oh, you guys are like not ready to fight. You got to brace yourself like this. Like, what are you doing? And then, or no, sorry, what I totally flipped that scene around. She's being told that by one of her companions. Like, she's about to leap into battle, and her companion goes, whoa, check your form. Like, if you do that, you're just going to get blown away. Like, you're going to get destroyed. Don't you remember what we talked about before? Because it relates back to, just like a training arc they just had. And in the Japanese version, the character goes, she brushes him off and gets ready to fight anyway. And she goes like, whatever, men who dwell on the past aren't popular. And then in the English translation, she goes, whatever, mansplainers aren't popular with the ladies. And it's like, this is the kind of stuff that we're getting thrown into our anime, our manga, our video games. And while this, like, that's egregious on its own, I think most all of us can agree on that here. Or probably if you're watching this show, you probably do agree with that. What makes it, what pushes it from like an already nuclear 10 to a nuclear 11 is the fact that these translators aren't, one, they're not ashamed of this, and two, they're openly like proud of it. You have translators on Twitter all the time bragging about, oh, you're not going to believe that I just inserted this meme reference into this anime. One of the translators I referenced before, Katrina Leonidakis, I hope that's her last name. It's something like that. I know, right? But she writes itself. There's a tweet out there where she's the localizer on My Life as Inu-san's Dog, which is like an isekai where a guy dies and he gets reincarnated as the new puppy of the girl he had a crush on. One of those sort of funny rom-com stories. But there's this tweet where she's like, I don't want to brag, guys, but I'm doing some of my literal best translating work on Inu-san's Dog. And the tweets are like, let me get up in there. Dang, that was super poggers. Like things like that. It's things that only, like this is the realization I've come to in the past couple weeks. I don't know why, just in the past couple weeks, I've been thinking about this topic more, but it's really, it's think of like when a Tumblr kid makes a joke on Twitter or something, right? Like all the underage anime profile picture kids we know about who scream about shipping and all that. When they make a joke like, haha, rumble tuffle fart. Isn't that the funniest thing you've ever heard? And then all their little other group goes, rumple tumple fart, rumple tumple fart. Oh man, wouldn't it be so funny if Goku fought rumple tumple fart? And that just becomes the meme on its own. That's only really funny to your small little insular community. But they're going, I find this funny. Everyone's going to find this funny.
But this is the problem. They can't out loud is
so funny.
They can't remove themselves from what they're doing. It's like we tell you about when people self-insert themselves into like movies and television shows and whatnot. It's like, oh, I'm a super special, awesome character, and everyone's gonna love me. And then when the immediate feedback is, this character fucking sucks, and then they think, oh, you're telling me that I suck. So it's like they take it so personally because they've essentially made this whole thing all about themselves rather than doing their actual jobs. And this is why they, like I said, they dig their heels and fight as hard as they do, because it's like, oh, I'm not just protecting my work, I'm protecting my personality, my jokes, and what I think is right. It's like, it's all me, I.
All right, let's see. What did we pull up here, Cider?
Says eventually you people attached to the localization industry in the West will have to answer why you deliberately cultivate these echo chambers onto the whole community, dox anyone with opinions you don't agree with, while adding your own politics onto a narrative in post. And then the reply is, lol, no, we won't. We're never going to have to own up to this. And then what they're reaping. And the announcement is Anime News Network, Mage's Bride, return gets simulstream English using AI. Uh-oh. And Katrina, not the same person, obviously, but another localizer says, I don't have words for how embarrassing and disappointing this is. Instead of paying a human to do the quality job, they're using AI to get mediocre product for free. Is this how little they think of English-speaking audiences or translations? For shame.
Shame. But if we, complain about like memes in our translations, all of a sudden we can't shame you. Like you guys are doing I don't know. It's all so stupid, and I'm so glad that like it's coming to a head. What's up?
Well, thankfully we have a timeline. It's full of expletives, though.
Please walk us through this.
Ladies and gentlemen, you have to forgive some of the spicier words that are used here. This comes from the venerable hacker 4chan.
Oh,
we remember
the hacker known as 4chan.
The hacker known as 4chan. Japan Otaku. This is a recap of the last 7 months leading up to about 3 days ago, a little bit before Christmas. It says Japan otaku are mad at Sony for betraying Japan years ago, selling out to the West. In protest, PC gaming is bigger than the PS5 gaming now in Japan, and the Switch dominates the family home. Fast forward a few years. Some of the, I don't know if we can say this word on YouTube, some of the transsexuals made the catastrophic mistake of bragging in Japanese how much they changed the original language and verses. FE and
how much
Fire
they
Emblem
in Fire Emblem Engage and Grand Blue Fantasy.
Grand Blue.
Just the two game titles. No.
Some JP bloggers make a comparison of the changes and end up pointing out that all romance subtext was removed and political propaganda was added in on top of the prose being the overall worse. JP Otaku light on effing fire out of Seethe. The few people talking positively about the transsexual translation get doxxed and outed as literal ESG paid shills.
Surprise!
Situation escalates until multiple companies get DDoSed through mail and phone in protest. JP linguists get brought in for a check and find that stuff is literally effed. The Sony leaks cause a few nationalistic JP schizos to go.
Time there, real quick, Cider. Is he trying to make like a soy joke here, or is it like because every time he says Sony, he says SNOY, and I'm like, you could have just called it Soiny like everybody else does. I'm not entirely sure where this term came from. Maybe
it's a 4chan thing to purposely misspell things to annoy people.
Okay. I wasn't
Even
sure
when you're trying to be like informative.
Yeah,
it's just to screw with them. It's a tradition.
Yeah. It's just
good old fortune.
The Sonoy leaks, the Sonoy leaks cause a few nationalistic JP schizos to go fucking effing ape poop. Excuse me. Situation keeps escalating until the JP Sonoy offices get Kyoani'd. Now you didn't hear about this, but they did get attacked. They did have a fire there.
That was what was crazy to me, is that I read that line and then you'll see like what Cider's about to get into, and it makes sense because I feel like we all would have heard about this if crazy Japanese if
Sony came under attack. Yes,
yeah, like especially from like ESG like shills, that would have been headlined on Bounding, on Park Place, on Fandom Pulse, on Yellow Flash, on
Kotaku.
Everybody. Like literally, Kotaku would have covered it too. Everybody would have covered it. Like it would have been headline news for months. We'd all still be talking about it. But yes, continue.
Where did I go? There I am. This incident gets swept under the rug. The media desperately hides the poop show surrounding it. Constitutional changes happen almost overnight by bureaucratic standards, and with close to zero opposition to use AI to replace translation gaijins. Now, if you're not familiar, gaijin is a term applied to foreigners. It quite literally translates to foreigner. Magically, someone has the funds to train massive in-house AI models to translate Japanese kanji and spoken language to English using the Japanese academic literature, and including large language models and video lingo without the gaijin oversight, meaning you don't have these wokey dokes getting in the middle of it anymore, not even in the training of it. It's rumored that at some point a Yakuza lord got involved because the filthy gaijin dared disrespect his waifu, and a lot of money came from that guy. By April 2024, quote, real translators that totally know Japanese in legal bureaucracy will be replaced by AI, with plans to replace even English teachers.
I can believe
that. You can't even trust the dang teachers not to poison these kids, okay? The English teachers all together and use AI models for media translation as well. So your next Godzilla movie, that's going to be handled by AI, not the Fruity Loop with blue hair. AI is already being used to translate in-house from JP to English.
Yeah. The Ancient Magus' Bride. This is probably the first big one because of Anime News Network's coverage and the way they framed it and the response. But they're not the first studio. There are other studios out there that are using AI in this way, where they translate it, send it to a human, and send it out the door. And like, to me, so at the end of all of this, I personally don't like AI in this sense, right? Like, I don't like the idea of, AI artists or AI writers because it takes away the human element. But my issue there is taken away by the fact that there are still human editors. If somebody's still looking it over and still has the original text, and they can, they actually care, and that's what, like, a lot of Japanese people just know English anyway. It's taught as a second language there, like, just standard. So they'll be able to handle that over there. And so, human element there, fine. They'll still be able to get your metaphors and your imagery out there. To me, this all boils down to something that Gabe Newell once said, the guy who runs Steam, good old Gaben, which is, this is verbatim. I hope I'm getting it right, or it's not verbatim. I'm going to hope I get it right, but I might get some words wrong. But he basically says, piracy isn't an issue, or what is, all right, I'm going to have to look it up. Now, like, I lost the entire, this is what it is. Yes. There is a fundamental misunderstanding about piracy. Piracy is almost always a service problem and not a pricing problem. So essentially what they're saying here, I mean, obviously Ancient Magus' Bride is trying to give a better service to their customers by getting official simulpubs out super fast. But if these translators, if these blue-haired, pink-haired Katrinas out there actually did their jobs, they wouldn't be in this position where or like, what am I trying to say? They're offering such a bad, their job. Yeah, because I mean, they're offering such a bad service. They took her gerbs. Somebody said that up here. Hold on, I had it. Yes, Hark Belial. They took her gerbs. and like if you're not offering people good translations, they're going to go find them wherever they can. And if that happens,
or to make them up themselves.
Right, exactly. And so a lot of this all boils down to, you guys kind of made this bed yourselves, and now you have to lie in it. And I really don't know if I have any sympathy for them, especially with the audacity so many of them have had in the last couple of days to trot out you don't respect the original work. And it's like, don't even start on us with that.
Weren't you guys the ones recontextualizing whole animes? And he's muted.
Of course he is.
Oh, I forgot to unpush the button. Like, recontextualizing, even just straight up rewriting all of them. Obviously, this isn't a series that a lot of us here were interested in, but thankfully Nerdigans read it. But there is a series where a guy gets really into doing, like, he wants to start being a makeup artist. And so he asks his friend, a guy, if he can, practice on him and, doing like female makeup and style techniques. And in doing so, the guy ended up going like, oh, I really like cross-dressing. And the other guy goes, oh no, am I starting to be attracted to him? But the cross-dresser is like, but I am a boy still. I'm very clearly a boy. That's sort of the crux of this entire thing. Yeah, exactly. And then when that series came across the pond, or not even across the pond, I don't know why I said it like that. It's not Britain. But when it came to America, the localizers at Seven Seas turned that character into a trans person and made it this entire trans narrative, and it completely changes the entire story to the point where the author had to come in and go, I don't know what happened, but I'm going to have some words. Like, we have to talk about this because this is not a good thing.
Remember that being DOA in England.
Was it?
Yeah, just straight up DOA in England because of that.
I came along and was like, yo, what the fuck, bro?
Bruv, what is this, bruv? You what, mate? You what?
You again? What is happening here? And yes, to that, hey, it's HD shows up. He says, hey, everyone, no Josh tonight. No, unfortunately, our resident Brit is feeling a little under the weather with
We're sending him sympathy bongs.
We can't do that on screen, unfortunately.
No. They call them Brit bongs because of the noise Big Ben makes.
Right. Yeah.
So we're sending him sympathy Big Ben bongs to make him feel better. Remember these?
I thought you were just looking around at things that like you and me.
I don't own a bong. I don't.
Why not? I do. I got one in
I'm not
college.
much of a snorkeler. I'm just not my thing.
Yes, Sporking. First of all, Sporking, what's up, Scott? Nice to see you, buddy. He says, first of all, he says, what's up, Jacob? Second, he says, you need to keep it as close to the original as possible. I 100% agree, because otherwise the author made it a certain way. They didn't say, okay, now go write your own versions of my story. I don't know. It's just, I don't need to explain it. You all know what I'm trying to get at. It's all stupid. Mitch Ryan says Marxists are replacing dialogue with their politics. 100%. That's what it is every single time. Because it's never something like, oh, we're going to change this joke into another joke that, maybe the Japanese joke involves like falling into a river. We're going to change it into an American joke that involves like running into a closed door or something, right? It's never anything like that. It's never an
improvement on any conceivable level.
It's never an improvement. It's never even like it's never like an earnest effort, right? Like like you would look at the translation and go like, okay, yeah, I see what you were going for. That was an earnest effort, but the words were a little off, but you tried.
It's someone going, oh, this is problematic. Let me change it.
Exactly. And they go, oh, wait a second. They made a joke about, like seeing girls in bikinis. Can't have that. Have to be about patriarchy and smashing standards. And then that's what we get nowadays. What you got here for us, Cider? Which story are you pulling up?
This might be a little bit of a wrench in the idea that all things are bad. I don't know about this. The One Piece live action hasn't sucked, and what they have made clear about this production that they're doing now, they're going to reboot the anime. Netflix has teamed up with WIT Studio. Now, WIT Studio is made up of 4 other animation studios in Japan. It's not something. Yeah. It's an actual Japanese conglomerate studio. Yeah. And so they're going to be doing this One Piece reboot with the voice actors from the live action. I'm not clear if that's going to be the dubbers, right? The people that are in Japan that are voicing over the English live action version, or if it's going to be both, meaning the English actors will do both.
The people who dubbed the English live action were the Japanese anime cast, so it would be the same guys.
Then it's not going to be them, because they have been they're way too old, and this is not. They
are.
I'm not saying that they're in their 80s, guys. They're in their 80s.
Yeah, they are like. A lot of the Japanese voice actors you guys like and recognize, they're up there. They're
pretty much knocking on death's door. Let's just be very, very honest.
Maria Osazawa's getting there, man. I'm getting scared. I don't like when the clock ticks by every day.
Speaking of knocking on death's door.
Oh my gosh. Yes, I do think it is time to get into Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. All right. So this is how I want to start off. We're just going to, let's just blanket talk it, Jacob. And I'm going to kick off the discussion with this one simple question. Did you like this more or less than the Marvels?
Yes. It's not saying much.
That was easy.
It's not saying much, but yeah, this is nowhere near as bad as the Marvels. However, it is very, very bland. It's a movie that, let's be very honest, doesn't need to exist on any level whatsoever. Somehow this movie only exists because the last one somehow made $1 billion, and no one to this day can figure out how that happened to begin with. But they decided, like, well, that one was $1 billion hit, so let's just go ahead and make another one. Muted again.
Yep.
Oh, I was muted on my deck, not StreamYard. But dude, it's Avatar all over again. I genuinely don't know like that many people who saw Aquaman in theaters. And I don't know, that movie wasn't that good to warrant $1 billion. It didn't have anything like an end game to back it up or to build support. I have no idea what happened there.
Nobody can explain it. It's a mystery that befuddles the entire world. That's all we can say there. I mean, yeah, like I said, it's not really a glowing endorsement of either film, because this one is just like I said, the whole point of the movie is that it really hammers down climate change. And yes, it's a climate change lecture film. If you guys watched our
Yes, it
previous
is.
articles over the last couple of years, I mean, you guys knew that this was coming. This is all about, like I said, the whole idea of climate change is that, oh, humans are such a curse upon the earth that the only way to save the earth is to get rid of humans. And then you go, wait, what? And then they just go, great, let's do it. And that's pretty much like where we got here.
Well, like that's the thing is it's like we've had all the rumors about, oh, it's going to have a climate change like narrative, a story. And I read all that and I was sort of just like, oh, so it's going to have some dumb like quips thrown out or like throughout it about like, oh yeah, the oceans are getting warmer. Like
no, it's actually the central figure of the entire story.
It is the main plot of this entire film. So yeah, as Cider has put down below, we are going to be entering spoiler territory for the next probably hour. I don't know how long the entire topic will be spoiler talk. If you haven't seen Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom and you for some reason still are invested in its high octane plot, check out now, come back in maybe like 45 an hour and you'll be good. Otherwise, buckle up. We're going to take a dive. And
put it to you this way: if you care about spoilers for Aquaman 2, go away and then forget to come back. That's probably my best recommendation.
Honestly, like again, the thing that sort of like to that point, the thing that sort of hovers over this entire movie is the fact that James Gunn killed this thing a year ago by announcing the new DC Studios thing. So. And like I pointed this out to a friend over the weekend, which is like with Blue Beetle, Shazam, and Flash, through all those movies, Gunn was sort of playing cheeky. He was like, they might play in, they might not play in. Who knows? We'll kind of have to see what's going on. And so we knew something new was coming, but fans could, reasonably convince themselves like, maybe this has to do with everything. I'll go check it out, yada, yada, yada. It wasn't until like the beginning of November when James Gunn came out and said nothing is canon until my Creature Commando show. With that puts the nail in not just this movie, which is like, oh, so this is officially done. There's no reason to care. We're never seeing this again. It's that, and Peacemaker is also like torpedoed because that's still going to come out before Creature Commando. So it's that whole thing is sort of
is what we like to call Texas toast. It's pretty much what it is.
Pretty much. And so you got to eat that Texas toast before, to kind of understand the context of this entire movie, because what am I trying to say here? Which is that I don't know what the heck they were going for with this movie. This movie is such a mess production, design, story.
This is the problem when you create a superhero universe and you try to map everything out several years in advance before you actually even get to the date it's supposed to be released, because when things change, everything that you had already laid out falls apart, right? So they're like, oh yeah, we're gonna have this Aquaman movie, and who knows, maybe it'll lead to another Wonder Woman, another Flash, and all these other movies, and then by the time they even start putting all this stuff together, this whole thing was falling apart at the seams. And now James Gunn comes in, takes over everything, pretty much tells everyone, it's like, yeah, the next few films really don't matter much because I'm just rebooting this whole thing. So that sends the message to everyone at home. It's like, oh, okay, I really don't need to watch this movie because it doesn't matter. It's like, this isn't building up to anything. I don't have to see this to understand a movie that's going to come out in 5 years. It's like, oh, I can just skip this entirely because one, like I said, it's a movie about climate change and no one's looking for a lecture right now. Two, I guess we can talk about it a little bit. The elephant in the room is that Amber Heard is still in the movie, and she has a significant. I didn't say significant,
role. Damn, like we'll get into it, but keep going, keep going.
Yeah. So then this whole thing, and then like I said, there's no draw here for anyone. I think Hollywood might think that Jason Momoa is a bigger star than he actually is.
I think they do. I really think they do.
Yeah. I can't understand
what happened with Momoa, right? It's like you had him in Game of Thrones, where he was like the silent big badass, and that he was pretty good there. He played the role well, like whatever, even though he didn't talk. After that, you started getting everybody going, we got to push him. We got to make Momoa like this giant star. But then after that, like every movie he's in, he just plays himself. And himself is annoying. Like the man is very annoying.
Aqua,
you
bro.
know what I mean? that
Aqua,
is
bro.
what it is. So, Jacob, did you have anything to add in there? Because if not, I wanted to jump into like the plot of the film, and it specifically because of Aqua.
Yeah, well, we can get into it here because we can
All right,
back
cool.
on this guy later.
Yeah, and we can always hit everything as we go on. So, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. Obviously, it picks up in the aftermath of Aquaman 1, where Arthur is king, he's married to Mera, Orm's in prison, yada, yada, yada. This movie already starts off on a very, like, at least to me, first 5 minutes of this movie, I'm already off put because the beginning of this movie is one of those Marvel-style montages where Momoa is like, yeah, I'm the king of Atlantis, but it's so boring. Oh, I have to go to these council meetings. They don't let me do whatever I want. Like, oh,
I can't even drink Corona here, bro.
Right. And then it's like, but thank God every night I get to go home to my son. And like, he like plays P-Joke Dodge with him. I don't like, this is the entire setup to reintroducing us to this character who it's been like 4 years since average viewers have seen this character. Right.
Yeah.
Like Aquaman came after Justice League. And unless you saw Zack Snyder's Justice League, which I don't think casual viewers really did, you kind of forgot about this character altogether. And so you get him being hyper Aqua Bro. And that like I know like a lot of us here hated that or hate that depiction of him, but they go like they crank it to 11 in this movie, and it becomes so obnoxious where it gets to the point where it's just like you want to yell, like you want to. He's like the character where like if you're on like an adventure and you're like blah 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 blah, you're trekking, and the guy's like, you have a friend who's like, oh, I'm so tired, this is taking so long, why are we doing it? Like you just want to turn to him and go, dude, shut up. Like this is what hiking is. Like what did you expect? Like I told you what you were going to get. And that's sort of how he opens the movie, and it's just so
being
off-putting.
a whiny little bitch.
Stop being a whiny little bitch. Just be king. I don't know. They even have this really dumb joke where Arthur is sitting in like the throne and with Mera by his side, and he's like listening to an envoy or something like talk to him, and he like starts falling asleep, and the crown like falls off of his head, and he just starts snoring. And it's like, this is the exact type of stuff audiences don't want from their comic book movies anymore. Like this movie would have been 4 billion times better which is not saying a lot because 4 billion times like 0.00001 is still nothing. But it would have been so much better if Arthur was like, okay, I've got to try and prove myself as a king now. Like I've got to live up to this, instead of, screw this, man. I'm gonna go catch some waves. Like I'm out of here. So that brings me to, and like finally, let's address it, is Amber Heard, right? So obviously we all know what happened with her and the trial and Johnny Depp. And here's what's insane about this is that was super public. Everybody knew about it. It was national, worldwide news. We all saw the fallout. We all saw the result, and they didn't do anything to cut or dodge around Mera's role in this movie. Like, so it's not a big role. She's basically, she's the queen to Arthur. So she's in a lot of like group scenes, a lot of like planning strategy scenes, a lot of caretaking scenes with the baby, but she's just there. She's in your face there all the time. They didn't like try to edit her out or cut the CGI, which again, that's not all. Like you can easily cut out a CGI character. Yeah, you'll probably have to rearrange other things, but you can cut her, you can cut away from her in scenes. Like to me, it's just so insane that in the face of knowing just how, for lack of a better word, okay, I was going to say toxic, but radioactive is probably a better term. Like just knowing how radioactive she is. They didn't
here's the thing.
Anything. They didn't do anything.
This is the disconnect. Like is Amber Heard truly radioactive in Hollywood right now? Because it's like, yeah, she's radioactive with like the fan base, the people who saw the trial, but does the industry really hate her as much as the people hate her, right? Because you've seen like quite a few people come out and try to, give Keaton say that, oh yeah, Amber Heard, she's great, and like Zack Snyder happens to be one of those people throwing it out there. So I mean, do they really think that, oh no, this whole thing with Amber Heard, it'll blow over and then we'll bring her back in? It's like, we gotta wait for the heat to die now. And it's almost the same thing that they were expecting with like Ezra Miller. It's like everyone knew that Ezra Miller's name had a very toxic bent to it. And they was like, no, we're really gonna go ahead and release this movie anyway. If we keep him quiet for a year, then people won't remember and then they'll go out and see the movie, and that didn't happen. So then here you had this film here, and it's like, I don't know, maybe at some point they just figured, hey, look, we're already dead in the water with this whole thing anyway. So who really cares if she's in it or not? It's like, we're so cooked with this whole thing. It's like, who cares?
Like no, you're right. Like that's always been something that like blew my mind, which is like Jonathan Majors. He had a trial. Marvel, admittedly, for the first time in ever, did the thing where they were going to wait for the verdict for it to come out. Then once it came out, they went, all right, Majors, we're done. But with Miller and Heard, they didn't do it. They just said, like you said, Jacob, like, it'll blow over. That nobody's gonna care. Let's go for it. Like, it's fine. But it's a very not fine thing, or not in the sense that like, oh, you've done some big transgression, but you've just done something really stupid. Nobody likes her. That she's not that big of a pull. I don't know. Aside from weird Twitter like feminists who were doubling down on her as the saint of everything, I genuinely have never met another person who could really tell you like, oh yeah, that actress Amber Heard, I know her. Unless it's Aquaman. Anytime you talk about her, you have to go, oh, remember she was in Aquaman for like 2 seconds? And then people go, oh, that's right, of course, okay. So it's just really baffling to me that she's in it. Like this is the first movie, isn't it? I think. I think that's the first movie that Cider has up right now.
Oh.
That he's showing it.
I don't remember.
It's one of them. Yeah, that's the thing.
I just looked for a picture of Amber Heard. I looked for a gif of
Amber
Heard looking distressed. So, well, it's just all the CGI. Forgive the term, bukkake just blends together. I can't tell what I'm looking at. It's just
it doesn't get any better in the sequel. It doesn't get any better in the sequel. Like with Aquaman 1, my biggest complaint, and I'm sure if we went back through old Black Pill streams and even maybe like appearances on Barroom, I brought up how like my biggest issue with Aquaman 1 was it's just a lot of noise. It's just a lot of like, especially at the end when you have the war, it's like there are lots of things exploding, but I don't really give a crap about anything that's happening because it doesn't matter. And in this movie, they like triple down on it. To the point where they even pull a George Lucas, and there's a Jabba's palace scene with an unnecessary like weird CG monster, right? Like we'll get into it, but so the plot of the film is essentially Black Manta wants revenge upon Aquaman for killing his father in the first movie, and to do that, he has learned about the lost kingdom of Atlantis that has all the power that he could use.
I'm not gonna lie, for a second there, I thought you were going to say the power of friendship, and I was going to lose my mind.
No. It would be black girl magic, if anything. Okay, that's what Hollywood has taught me is the true power these days. I wish it was the power of friendship. He rejects that at the end. But yeah, so he goes, oh, I want to get this lost tribe was sealed away by Arthur's ancestors. Let's free them. We'll use their power, and I'll take down Atlantis and I'll take down Aquaman. That's my entire thing. And then this is where that huge climate change narrative comes in, and the stupidity I was talking about earlier, which is his entire plan. So the Lost Kingdom, it is lost because it's frozen in ice. That was how they sealed them away. So to melt the ice, Manta is taking a material called orichalcum.
Weaponized cow farts is what
that's literally what it is. He's taking orichalcum, throwing it into a volcano, and letting whatever this mystery item does, it releases cow farts, greenhouse gases, and he's using the like volcano to like aim it, or like what do you call it, like concentrate it, so that it takes out the ozone and it melts the kingdom open. Like that's the entire plot of the film. It's so very, very dumb. It's so very, 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 very ham-fisted. And so and I'm just gonna make a side note. I don't know about you, Jacob, but like Black Manta is still the only good part of these movies. Like he's the only person that actor like Yahya Abdul, or what,
he's the only compelling thing about these films. Like I said, let's be very, very honest here. Your protagonist is kind of a douche, right? He's really just kind of a douchey bro character, so you can't really identify with him. Somebody mentioned earlier in the chat that Patrick Wilson looks more like classical Aquaman than Jason Momoa does, but he's like secondary character. All the other people who are in this film, like Nicole Kidman and William Dafoe, it's like no one really cares about these guys. So it's like the only bit of meat that you have to hook up to here is, like I said, literally Black Mantis, and that's it. About Black Manta, and that's it.
Right, and that's our villain, and like he remains. Like I'm watching this movie and I'm seeing all these CG scenes with Aquaman and Orm and everything, and I just am sitting there going, where's Black Manta? Just bring him back. That's really all we care about, right? So, gosh, and so in service of melting this, or what am I trying to say? Let me restart. So Aquaman learns about Black Mantis's plan, and he goes, or Black Mantis' plan, and goes, we need to stop him. Sorry, I had to send a message real quick. But so he goes, we got to stop them. What are we going to do? I'm not powerful enough to stop them on my own. I'm going to get assistance from my friend, or from my brother. We're going to go rescue Orm. So they go and they free Orm. And this is probably, I have to point out the scene because it's probably the dumbest scene in the entire movie. So they explain that Orm is being kept in a prison where he gets 1 cup of water a day, to sort of suppress his abilities, to make sure he never breaks out, never gets strong enough, yada, yada, yada. Eventually Arthur goes to like free him and breaks him out of prison. And what follows is like a chase scene where they're escaping from prison and trying to make it to the ocean so Orm can get his abilities back, and they're being chased by about like 6 or 8 like jailers. And this is how it all ends. They're chasing him, blah 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 blah. They finally get to the like the wet sand on the beach where the tide is coming in, and Orm like gets to his knees and he falls down on that, and like just before, and so it's supposed to be like, just before getting to the water he collapsed. And so the jailers park their like beast horse thingies like 9 yards away, dismount, slowly walk over to him with like spears drawn, and then stand really far away from him and are like, is he dead? Like what is he doing? And then all of a sudden the tide comes in and it like washes over him, and he, boom, I'm Orm again, and he like kicks their asses, and then he's like, all right, let's go. That scene made zero, like they wanted him, like the jailers wanted him to get healthy and take in the water. Like it's so stupid. It means like there's no tension there if your bad guys are that stupid, because like the tide's not a thing where it's like, they never could have predicted that somebody would throw, like, unleash a gallon of water on Orm when they least expected it, right? Like you see the ocean coming in and the tide. It's something that is constant, that we have spent years studying, and I hate it so much because it's just nothing here. Everything is done in service of moving the plot along rather than telling a story, and it really feels completely stupid. But from there, so the plot then devolves into Orm.
I have a question.
Yes, Cider, drop the question.
Question denied.
Why did the King of Atlantis have to break anybody out of a prison? Wouldn't he just show up and be like, bro, I'm the king, let him out? And they go, yeah, you're the king, we'll let him out.
Because it would have been frowned upon with the elders, essentially. I was kind of the
That's
BS.
literally
so his clout would have took a ding on Atlantis Twitter. Okay, all right.
People who already didn't like him would have not liked him even more had he did that.
Oh no.
Yeah, okay. Cool.
But don't worry, Cider. So like to make
it's the reason why all those guys who did their jobs and really did it, kind of well and actually pursued the guy got their butts kicked and nobody said sorry. That's really cool. Good kinging. Good kinging.
And to make it even better, Cider, we've all seen the like promo shot of that like new armor costume he gets, like the stealth suit. So that's his stealth suit.
It's just a diving suit.
Well, it's just a diving suit. It has like special technology that makes him invisible, like whatever magic.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, but it cut like when it comes down, his face is still uncovered, and there's no like magic thing blurring his face. There's no Superman vibrating it really fast. And he spends like 90% of this prison break with his armor down. So they definitely know who broke him out. Like, it's not a secret. So I don't understand why we had to do any of this. Like, you probably made it all
literally
worse.
like he was going with like that shirt over his face. No one look at my face. It's like,
yeah, like, no,
it was you.
Not me, not me, it's not me. Like, that's
you know what I know?
Like,
Orm didn't kill himself.
Mm-hmm. Orm didn't. check the video logs in Orm's cell.
Yeah, suspiciously the cameras went out right when he.
And what's that? 2 of those guards retired immediately after that day.
Yeah. Retired, yeah. You bet. They took the Clinton golden parachute. Yeah.
No, they were told, no, you're going to take a retirement, or else you're going to take a permanent retirement from their life.
You like golf? You're gonna.
Yeah.
Hey, it's me in HD says, my friend blew my mind up until the final battle in Aquaman, up until the final battle, Aquaman 1 is just a ripoff of Tron Legacy. Well, I'm going to blow your mind even more, because this film is essentially just a retread of Aquaman 1. You have Arthur starting off in a place where he doesn't know what he wants to do. You have him going on a world romping journey to discover some mysterious Atlantean tech, or more specifically, a trident, like both. That's the key item in both movies. You have him hanging out with a fish out of water companion. In the first movie, it's Mera. In this movie, it's Orm. They even have the same joke of eat something weird because you don't understand the rules, where Mera eats that rose in the first one. In this one, Arthur tricks Orm into eating a cockroach. And then you have the all is lost moment where he's rushed out of the kingdom and he can't go back, and oh my gosh, how am I going to fight with allies on my side? And then you have, well, we're going to go confront them anyway, like headlong into battle. And then, oh my gosh, secret, like a huge what is that movie, Rise of Skywalker-esque, like army of fishes. Dude, I cannot, like, I blanked on that movie. I was like, it's Star Wars, I have no idea what it is. It just
I think we all try to suppress the memory of that movie even existing.
No, absolutely. But it's like that, like all of these same beats happen, and then even the movie ends with the same, like, oh, I accept my role as king, but not really. Like, it's all the same movie. And then Hey It's Me Ian HD also says, I'm so glad they got the Black Manta look right. He is one of my favorite characters. He's such an anomaly in these movies, because his suit doesn't look awful. He doesn't look awful. Like, he's the best, like Jacob said, the most compelling thing about it. Somebody there like really cared about Manta and then just didn't care about Aquaman himself. But to that like same point, in this movie, Manta's the only one who ever really threatens the Atlanteans. Like, he hits them with his eye beams and it like roasts them, and that's the only time they're in real danger, which is,
you got to understand the game they're playing. Okay, this is still cleanup of the DCEU, the mess that Snyder made. They're still trying to clean this up. This is this is one of the last little bits that have to get shoveled out here before James Gunn and his brand new fan fiction can take over. And so what they've done with Black Manta is they've made sure to set him up for either the Legion of Doom, or he's going to be brought in with the Suicide Squad movie that they are definitely going to make in spite of this video game, because this video game is going to hit a very hard wall now that all the stupid crap about it's leaked out. So that's going to hit a wall, and they're going to be mad about that. And you know how they do when they're mad. They go out and they get their birds of prey, the immaculate emancipation of Harley Quinn that nobody gives two flips about. But they showed you. They showed you. You know, and that's what they're going to do with this.
They totally burned you. Didn't you feel so insulted when they turned Black Mask into an incel man baby like you?
Right.
Gotcha.
And the reason why they're doing this with Black Manta is because he's going to end up being part of their like villain roster that will be the thing that sells the DCU. I have a feeling the Creature Commandos are just to test the water for, do you really need a Justice League? Or do you just not want Marvel? You know? And that's what this is a test is. Do you want underwear on the outside, or do you just not want Marvel? And that's what the Creature Commandos is. That's why it's first. It's to
I actually
take
really
the
believe
temperature.
that. I like that. And I'm actually right behind you there with that theory that, I mean, of course they're going to make a Suicide Squad movie. It's James Gunn.
A third
if
one.
we know anything about this man, we know that he like huffs his own farts a little too much. And of course he's going to go like, oh, we have Superman Legacy got us a lot of budget. Well, can I use a little of that for another Suicide Squad? Like, it'll happen.
Of course, in the Suicide Squad movie, he made a lot of money, so they'll be fine with that. They get Peacemaker got his own spin-off from it, so
2 seasons of it, hooray!
And a racist dad.
The oh gosh, I forgot about all about that stupid subplot. One of the things somebody brought it up in the chat earlier, but like to just remember how like full of himself James Gunn is. Like on his Threads account, he follows James Gunn news fans accounts. Yep. Like I'm James Gunn, I'm following James Gunn news, James Gunn updates, like we love James Gunn, like things like that. Like I to what benefit? They're just regurgitating literally what you said. Like it's so full of yourself. I can't get over it.
What the point is he goes there and he takes a look at the likes and he takes a look at the comments and he goes, yes, I am the god you think I am. Mm-hmm. The what's his face there? The guy Pedro Pascal was in an interview with some chick magazine, and they were like, do you go onto your fan pages on Instagram and check out what people are saying about you when you're feeling down? And Pedro's like, I do it when I'm feeling good, just to, remind myself, and he does. And he's like, this is, what's your favorite? And he says, Pedro fan account. That's his favorite one is Pedro Pascal fan account. And it's not even like a clever one. It's just like the one that's the most subscribed to. But he goes there and he reads the comments of these 14-year-old fucking girls following all over themselves over him, And he goes, aha, yes, I am all that in a bag of chips. Yes, I am. I'm going to go be gay in that Last of Us movie now. I'll see you later.
Oh, that's right. They're making a movie. All that stupid stuff. It's, I like, how full of yourself do you have to be? And we've seen, wait, what?
To the brim, all the way.
Oh, dude, you're like the experiment where you like do water tension, where you like put one drop every time to just see like what is going to put you off, like to pour the water over the edge. That's what they're doing every day. But yeah, exactly. Hates me in HD. James Gunn said, my wife being cast in, what was it, Suicide Squad or one of them,
whatever.
Yeah, one of them. I know she shows up in a few of them.
Perfect answer.
But yeah, he's like, oh no, I didn't do anything. Like I didn't have any role in that. It was just because she was the best person for the job. And then it's like, you say that, but then we also know we have proof of you going like, oh yeah, I already have roles for people like Batista and Chris Pratt, like carved out and ready for the DCU. So it's like, why? Like James Gunn just needs to go off the internet. Like he needs to stop talking to everybody.
The Earth.
And just
like put him in a trebuchet and like eject him into space,
Put him in space and then like every like month or so send him like remember that episode of South Park where Butters had to like go on Cartman's social media and like edit all of his posts and then give it to him? Like you can do that. Like, but instead of editing it, you just get all the ones from all the fan accounts and send it to James and let him live in his pod of self-delight.
Yeah. You wait. That'll be a thing in the future where you will go into a like hotel pod space, right? Like a 6x6 space that is nothing but praise. All it is affirmation and praise. That's it. It'll be like a praise pod. It'll be a praise pod.
I was gonna say that, Cider. I was gonna say like you're going way too ambitious here with like a room because it's just going to be put right next to the assisted death pods. Like it's gonna be like a 2-for
right?
room.
Well, it's funny because
if option one doesn't work for you.
A movie we'll talk about here in a second, House Party, the recent one with LeBron James. Remember the whole joke is that he has a little like virtual shrine that gives him compliments as he's getting ready for his day. It's like, I'm pretty sure we've got to a point. I'll be shocked if there's numerous celebrities who don't already have that.
Oh, I'm sure there have to be, right? Like, and I'm sure they have that, and I'm sure they have like an actual person to go on social media and be like, get the best things about me, get all the praise for me, but don't show me all the criticism. I don't want to hear that. Blah 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 blah.
Well, that actually exists. There's a place about an hour north of my hometown I grew up in Holton, but this place is up in Presque Isle. It actually is a place where people who work for Oprah, Montel Williams, Keith Olbermann, and that there's another one, Ellen DeGeneres. And they read newspapers, they read articles, they read Facebook posts, they read Twitter posts, Instagram, anything where they can find their name, screen name, or things related to them, and like given like a weekly report to these people of how their like public persona is being perceived, with like an advice manual on how to either do better or like cut down on the stuff that's causing trouble.
That's so creepy. Like, I mean, like, yeah, it's an image consultant, but it's also like one step further, because like celebrities,
it's like a whole team of people, dude.
Yeah, a whole team, and they're like seeking this out. Like they are putting actual stock on the, you know, flippant tweet of a 32-year-old mom on some dumb joke Cider or Jacob or I might make on Twitter. They're going, that's the information we want, and they run with it as if it's real, and it results in everything being stupid and everything being Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. So yes, Batista, no. Chris Pratt will consider. I don't watch all of Pratt's movies though. Or do you mean through? Like do you not watch them at all, or do you just watch them part way? I've only really watched, when it comes to Chris Pratt movies, I think like the Guardians movies. I watched the first Jurassic World because it was the first one, and then I went, nope, I'm not tuning in for any more of these pieces of crap. And then, has he been in any? What else has he been in?
Parks and Recreation.
Yeah, that's not a movie. Like, I watched all that.
I think that's it, though. Really, right? I mean, maybe some like rom-coms, but I think the only major productions he's been in have been those three.
He's been in. I know 2 movies he's been in very bit parts, but I don't know if I would say they're like big movies. He was in Her, right? Like the movie about like Scarlett Johansson and the
Passenger.
Passenger. That movie.
We actually talked about
Passenger.
That movie.
Her. Yeah, that movie we just did, and that movie was bad. Her, and then he is in Wanted. He's the co-worker to James McAvoy, the one who's like super annoying.
Oh, he just did the Terminal List. Okay, all right.
And I guess if you
on Amazon,
Mario, just in that too. So
that's right. Duh. Oh yeah, he does like a lot of voices. That's okay. That's fair. Lego Movie, Mario. Okay.
So
okay.
Pratt, in my opinion, though, Pratt needs a solo series. He needs a Reacher series. He needs something that he's allowed to be a not Homer Simpson analog, where he's actually
I definitely agree.
Calculating, compassionate man that does whatever he does. It could be like a Rescue Me thing where he's like one of these plagued firefighters. You know, it doesn't have to be a superhero flick, but he needs something that is just straight like Chris Pratt saves the world kind of stuff. You know, none of this accessory, no sass talking raccoons, nobody undercutting him.
We got that in Tomorrow War. Was that what it was called? The Amazon movie? I just remember that he was in that, wasn't he?
Yeah. He was the lead in Tomorrow War, yeah.
So he needed better material. He needs better material, but I definitely agree with you.
That was Netflix material there.
The one thing I remember from that movie is when they teleport everybody in to like the future battle, but it's not like exact coordinates. So like 80% of them drop like from the roof onto the ground. It's like, well, you lost most of them there. All right. DZ saying, I watched some of them. I didn't watch all of them. Passenger, didn't watch that. Definitely would not recommend it. What I know about Passenger is that Jennifer Lawrence made more than Chris Pratt. That is all I know about it. According to her, I don't believe that's right. Okay. She's never been paid right. She's always been mistreated by Hollywood. She's never been a draw, DZ. That's what she
complained about getting paid less $5 million than Leonardo DiCaprio for a shitty Netflix movie nobody watched. She got paid $25 million in that film.
Every time she complains about like, oh, I didn't make that much money, she always fails to like I didn't make as much money as this person or that person. It's like, do you realize who that person is? Like, household name? Leonardo DiCaprio, yeah, I'm pretty sure that dude's gonna probably pull in or like need to pull in or like have a price tag way higher than you're gonna have. And also,
you serious?
The little horn honk.
The car horn. Yep.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's not the reality we lived in. And instead of going into the newspaper and going, everybody's being mean to me, you guys need to do something about it, blah blah blah, I'm Jennifer Lawrence, instead of laughing her out, they just went, okay, let's write all these fluff pieces about you, we're gonna make you the next big thing. And it was annoying. And she still, I guess Jacob said that rom-com she did wasn't too bad, like the Return or whatever. Not The Return.
Oh, the Jennifer Lawrence one.
Yeah, I can't remember the name.
Yeah, it's not that relevant, but it wasn't terrible, I guess. So,
right. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, you didn't love it, but it was like it wasn't bad. You didn't. It was a middling film.
It didn't suck that much, I guess.
Right. It didn't make your worst list. So I think that's saying a lot. But yeah, so returning to Aquaman, I don't even know where we are in the Aquaman plot. Oh, so Orm has been broken out. They're all trying to go get Black Manta, and this is where there is a moment where they need help trying to get into the Lost Kingdom and finding it or whatever, and they go to essentially underwater Mos Eisley, where they meet a giant, flubbery, giant man booby flopping around fish thing, voiced by Martin Sheen. That it's just, you start to, it really draws this parallel between like the Aquaman movies and the Star Wars prequels, right? Which is that in the Star Wars, like in the main trilogy, whenever you went somewhere in the main trilogy, or you saw a new creature, or you saw a robot, it sort of it blended in, it made sense. It was sort of being used to subtly build the world around you, right? They were very rarely like highlighted to go, look how weird that is. It was all sort of treated as like, this is just the world we live in. In both Aquaman movies, they go to so many different locations and meet so many weird giant bugs, fish, different ancient Atlantean crafts and everything, that every moment it just feels like another display of like, look at what we can do. Look at what CGI can do. And it's just like, I don't care about, like, none of this is entertaining. None of this is good. Somebody needed an editor in there. Like, somebody absolutely needed an editor. And it's just an entirely, like, an overall bizarre sequence. And
like Jacob, you were talking earlier just about how it just got you. There's no way you could look. The camera even wasn't even pointing, right? Your eyes were just being blitzed all the time, right? I heard that, right? Was it you or was it Spencer? I don't remember.
I just said it was noise.
I was just asking, man. For you guys, when you were watching it, you're just like being blitzed all the time with like colors and noise and stuff.
That was Spencer, it's stuff happens, and then you're like, oh, okay, well, that was a thing.
Yeah, you just sit there and you're like, okay, what's next? Like, can we get to anything? And then in those very like slimmed down, reduced moments, you vamp for a second, Jacob. I gotta go take care of these dogs. Something is setting them off, so I'll be right back.
Yeah,
it's Aquaman.
The dogs of war are going off in the background over there. Someone says that how much of the blame falls on James Wan. I mean, look, if all the other extracurricular stuff hadn't happened around the same time, I mean, this just would have been, at the end of the day, a so-so superhero movie. Like I said, it really doesn't muster up enough hatred to like really hate the movie. It doesn't muster up enough excitement to like it. It's like really just like right down the middle. So this is what the overwhelming majority of superhero movies have become. It's just a perfectly okay movie, and then you walk out feeling completely uninspired. And then you won't remember anything you saw in this movie until like 6 months down the line, where you're sitting on your couch and HBO Max is on. You're like, oh, Aquaman 2. I guess I'll watch this to kill time again. And then you're
right?
like, oh, yeah. This,
I'm doing laundry. Like, I'll throw it on in the background. Whatever. Okay. Like,
I need a distraction.
Like to all that here, like the plot from there goes to like, this is how it all sort of ends, which is they eventually make their way to the Lost Kingdom. They Black Manta. So this is, we got to address the very small elephant in the room, which is, as Hey It's Me in HD asks, spoilers. You guys think they re-edited Aqua Baby Death? So yes, So to this point, one of the biggest plot points in this film concerns in order for Black Manta to break the spell fully and like after he melts everything to revive the evil king of whatever this kingdom is, he needs to like offer like a blood sacrifice to sort of like, you know, of Aquaman's bloodline to break the spell, yada yada yada. So to do so, he kidnaps Aquaman's son, brings him to the like temple or whatever, or not even temple, but like the Lost Kingdom, and it's this whole bit like you know, it alternates between shots a lot, like, or like it cuts, it's building the tension. You don't know, is he actually going to like stab the baby? And then he doesn't. He obviously like they sort of draw it out a little more. He's prepared to, but instead of killing the baby, he slugs Aquaman once, and like it causes blood to shoot out of his mouth, and that blood is enough to, you know, it splashes on the table or like the altar, and it undoes all the spell, right? And
wow,
yeah, so there's
easy.
It's very easy, but it's also there's a lot to sort of unravel here, because we do know that per test screenings there was a version of this movie where, well, there are versions where the baby dies, yes, but there's also versions where the baby gets like skewered in like its crib, like a little more violent and stuff, right?
Dang.
So no, yeah, that was like the big rumor that was going around, and like a couple months ago, I don't even remember at this point.
Yeah,
but
it didn't go over very well.
No, it did. A lot audiences were like, "What is this? Like, I didn't want to see this. Like, how could you?" Blah 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 blah. So obviously, we got a new, different ending that, or like I don't know if it's a reshoot or if it's an alternate ending. Somebody in the chat, I believe it was Veritas, was talking about how they probably shot like multiple versions and just slapped together the best one they could. But because of that move, because they angled away from that plot, it ends up not making sense, right? Because if the entire thing was like, oh, I need to kill the baby to get the blood, well, that's a lot of blood. Okay, I understand. But if it turns out that all the blood you needed was just, you know, the amount that if you slugged somebody really hard, they spit out, like that's essentially what it was, then why did you even need to go through any of this baby stuff anyway? Couldn't you have just like drawn some blood or anything else? Like it was a bizarre decision. That was my impression of speaking Atlantean underwater, but it was a bad decision in the first place to sort of even think that's what people are going to want. Like you can do there, like I don't know. It's not Game of Thrones. This isn't the right venue for a brutal murdering of a child storyline, right? And so that was a bad idea. That was a bad idea off the jump. And then they tried to save that idea in post, and it just ends up making this really disconnected, honestly anticlimactic, like, and another scene, like it's an anticlimactic moment, but it's another scene of like, why is everybody waiting for everybody to hit their like cue? Like, why doesn't Manta just do it? Why is he waiting for Aquaman to show up and save him? Like, it's things like that compose this movie, which is like, events don't happen, like they don't just like they're not events, they're things that have been planned out, and you expect like, okay, I'm gonna, you know, punch you. It's kayfabe. Like the entire movie is kayfabe. That's the best way to put it, where everybody like not just like on the actor, like in a meta sense, but like Aquaman is playing kayfabe. He knows he's not going to be hurt. He knows that he's going to be rescued at the last second, yada yada yada. And but from there, essentially the film ends with Orm being possessed by the evil spear temporarily, and quick little battle between them. Orm eventually gives up. Yeah, very temporary. Like maybe
so
like
temporarily, you wonder how Manta got so hooked after one
touch
of the spear to begin with, right?
Like it makes no sense, but then they give it up, and it's such a dumb ending, right? Like so the big bad king is like, oh, I'm finally freed from my prison. I'm reviving in my power, and so Aquaman's like, don't worry, I got this, and he throws the spear at him, and you're like, oh, he's gonna get him. And then the bad guy catches the spear, And he's like, haha, you thought that would get me? Like, no, my power will grow. But then Aquaman goes like, well, I guess I'll just try again. And he throws the evil trident. And that one does the like Robin Hood thing where it like goes right into the other trident and it spears right through it and it gets to the villain and it blows him up. And that's the end. Like,
explosive
Suicide
tridents.
Squad? Remember Suicide Squad, guys? Like how at the very end it was like Enchantress is the villain, but oh, the big villain is actually her brother, and oh, he's here. But oh, we got the like magic doohickey, the MacGuffin to take him out, and so he's taken out. It's the exact same ending here, and it's so. Imagine if the first Avengers movie ended, with. You beat Loki, and then they immediately beat Thanos right after. For like no reason. Like that's what it is. It's not good storytelling. It just feels cheesy, honestly. And it's not great. It's very unsatisfying, especially because like Jacob said, because Manta's so cool, you want to see more of Manta, not random CGI. Honestly, he looks like the cover there. If you guys have ever played World of Warcraft, the expansion, the Wrath of the Lich King, there's like that main key art of the Lich King with this like spiky helmet sitting on like an ice throne. It's literally that same artwork, spiky helmet and all, but with like a green tint instead of a blue tint. It's bizarre. But yeah, so from there, the movie ends with a sort of, I don't even know like what you want to call this. So this is the actual ending of the movie itself. Is Arthur decides to reveal Atlantis to the world so that they can all come together. Atlantis and the people of the surface can come together and fight climate change. And then he does. It's okay. I'm like, I have no idea how to even like recount this moment, but essentially the movie ends with him. He's giving this speech in front of like the UN or like a crowd of people. And he's like, I am, that's the goal I hope for us. And, who am I, you might ask? Like, I am Arthur Curry, sovereign of Atlantis, ruler of the seven seas, a hero, a friend, like he does like that. Right. And he's like a hero, a father, a friend, a leader. And then he like grabs, and then like, so he's giving like this really proper speech. Then he like grabs his microphone at the end and he goes, and I am Aquaman. Woo! And then like walks away. Like that's the end of the movie. And
thanks. What a diplomat.
Like what a diplomat, but also did DC really, was that a swing at Iron Man? Did DC really think that they could either take a swing or compare Momoa
on the way down
to Iron Man?
They were in any position to take a swing at anybody else.
That's what I mean. Like, and like a swing at like the number one Marvel project, the thing that kicked it all off, and like a defiant, restarted that role, restarted
arguably
RDJ's
the only
career.
brand that. Like, the MCU hasn't just completely killed at this
honestly
point.
Well, until Ironheart comes out, then it'll be completely dead. If that ever comes out, because I'm kind of with you, Jacob. I'm pretty sure that thing's cooked. But that's the end of the movie. It's so, like Jacob said, it's nothing. You will not remember 90% of what you saw in this movie. I'm sure even as soon as I get off this stream, I'm going to go, oh, wait, there was that scene, huh? Oh, crap, there was that. Oh, right. Who cares? Like, it's such a middling movie. Like, I would give it a 4. It's not, like, awful offensive. It's just, who cares? Like,
yeah, I think 4 was what I gave it, if I'm not mistaken. It was like a 4 or 3, but it was basically
somewhere in that
realm. Same line. Yeah, it's basically around those same lines. It's just a big old pile of dog duty.
And before we move on, because like we're clearly winding down our Aqua talk, but the main thing about that okay, so yes, there was the attempted swing at Iron Man there, which is like, wow, I can't believe you're doing that. But there's also the fact, and I don't know if you guys caught it when I was recapping, but they straight up go, one of the big plot points in this film is that Atlantis is hidden to the world. Nobody knows it exists. And I just don't know how you square that away with everything we've seen in the last few films, right? Like, one, Aquaman's a part of the freaking Justice League. He's shown up in like, not only to like fight when they assembled, but he
It's taped in the UN General Assembly, dude. I mean, like everybody knows now.
Yeah, bro, dude. See, you gave him a cigarette, not like a vape. Like it needs to be like a vape.
Okay.
And a vape. And
You
like
smoked a doobie in the UN General Assembly.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, bro. But then yeah. So like they're trying to say like Arthur fought against Darkseid and Steppenwolf with the Justice League. He was called in by the Peacemaker team when the Justice League was all there. Like he showed up there. If I want to get like really pedantic, you're gonna tell me that entire like war from the end of Aquaman 1 didn't set off any sort of like seismic detectors or anything?
Nope.
I don't know. It's
didn't
just
even make a noise.
It made nothing, Cider.
And that submarine that Aquaman was on, we screwed around with people in the beginning of the first movie. Everybody just got like, MIB like neuralizered.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody, of course, forgot.
Or like, what about all the guys he like drank with, like, or he was drinking with when like Batman goes to talk to him? Like they all know he's Aquaman. Like that's the entire point. It was just such a bizarre, weird detail that they threw in there, and I think it was probably, now that I'm like saying it out loud, I think it was probably just to reinforce that climate change message at the end of like, we can all come together. See, there's no need to be hidden apart, blah, 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 blah. And it was just like, all right, who cares? This is so dumb. And then of course, the post-credit scene, in case anybody cares, I think I said it last week, but it is just a callback to that joke about Orm eating a cockroach, and he eats a cockroach. He's eating a burger, puts a cockroach on his burger, and eats it, and he's like, I like it, and that's it. That is how the Snyderverse ends, with the crunch of a cockroach.
It ends on the message of quite literally, you will eat the bugs. That's how
you will eat the bugs. You in service of climate change.
It wouldn't be a climate change message to tell people you got to eat bugs too, right? So
and don't worry, Aquaman 3, it'll be Aquaman 3. You will have nothing. Let's see. Hey, it's me in HD asks, so final verdict, which is worse, Aquaman 2 or Harley Quinn's movie? All right, Jacob, I'll let you take
Quinn's
that one
movie. The Harley Quinn movie is all just absolutely dog. No, that's bad. No.
Yeah, like I have to be with Jacob here. Like Aquaman 2 is dumb. It's just so like it's sort of like bad in the way old like movies used to be bad, where it's just bad quality, weird script decisions, weird everything. But like Harley Quinn is one of those it's trying to agitate like us. It's trying to like insult us. Like it's an active act of malice. And
it was
not a good one, but it's there.
It was just the beginning of, hey guys, men bad, and then that was like Hollywood's entire film.
They thought that movie was going to be what like pop culture or like okay, how do I explain this? They thought that movie was going to be what feminists think incels think Captain Marvel is. You know what I mean? Like because like people like us, like people who don't like Captain Marvel, our main like even the most extreme of critics like John Trent, like our old boss man, his main complaint was not that it had a woman, that it focused on a woman or whatever. It was that it was just boring. And then we had our issues with Brie, like that. But in the zeitgeist or whatever, all the feminists have gone, oh, they hate it because it's a strong like a movie about female empowerment.
They've never seen a movie with a woman in it before.
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh yeah, stick it to the man message. And like that's what they think we think of Captain Marvel. That's what they thought Birds of Prey would actually be. And they wanted that. And in the end, nobody wanted to watch this movie. Like this movie, it's bad for a reason. It got a name change for a reason. It's just
they changed the name
disaster.
As they released the movie, like 2 days into the theater run. It was like, no, let's change the name to this movie.
Yes, that's my favorite detail, is that it was like during or like right at the start of the run, because they were like, nobody knows what this movie is. Like nobody, we have to change the name.
Like Birds of Prey and Harley Quinn and the Fantastic. But no, let's just call it Birds of Prey. It seems like a lot easier. Let's
just cut it back. Let's make it simple for people. DZ3 closes out. He says, "This is why I say when I see Momoa, he doesn't feel regal. That scene you mentioned proved my point." Oh, Momoa is not okay. Well, like because I think of the Dothraki, like when he was in Game of Thrones, and he played the Dothraki leader really well, right?
Yeah.
Again, he was quiet, but he had that like presence. He was very like straightforward, no nonsense, blah blah blah. It's when you let Jason Momoa be Jason Momoa that he becomes this like way over the top. He's like the friend
Dude,
who
bro.
like yeah, it's like a dude bro, but it's also like a dude bro who really wants attention from people. You know what I mean? Where it's like you maybe laughed about a friend's joke once. Yeah, where it's like you laughed about a guy, like, you know, say a friend makes a joke and you laughed about it once, and then that friend starts making that joke all the time, and you know, because he thinks that's what's funny, and then when he realizes it's failing, he just starts saying it louder and more like exaggerated. That's what Momoa is, where he probably, you know, maybe people liked his depiction in was it Justice League, I guess technically the first time you really saw him, and they were like, oh, I like that, which I don't like that. Nobody really here likes that, but it hit with some people. We have to admit that. But then he went, oh, that's what people like. Let's do that in everything. Like, if it were not for Fast X, this would be the worst example of it. Fast X barely beats out how obnoxious Momoa can get. And I know you saw that movie, Jacob. Like that, cannot stand him in that movie. Like, he is so annoying.
It's like, are you supposed to be like flamboyant? Are you supposed to be menacing? Or is he gay? Like, what are we doing here? Like, what is it?
He's supposed to be all of it because he's our non-binary trans icon. I don't even know if that's what he is. I'm just throwing out terms.
You might. I mean, you better
right. Like at this point. I mean, let's see the Fast X10 Part 2. Maybe they'll reveal it there. Who freaking knows? But with that conclusion to Aquaman, so yeah, final assessment is it's a weird movie. I guess if you were that interested, maybe throw it on in the background, but no need to spend your money, no need to rush out. The movie lost or it underperformed by 2 million under its predictions. Its predictions were already low. Say it was a predicted 40 million box office on the 4-day Christmas opening weekend, and it only managed to pull in 38, which is that's like, it was already bad at 40. That was already worse than The Marvels, which is already the worst movie of the year or worst performing movie of the year. And now this thing is just like undercutting the hell out of it. I read some analysis earlier this morning that was like, maybe if it can keep its international legs, it has a chance of competing with Black Adam and The Flash, which isn't great, but I don't even know if it's like gonna carry that far.
No,
like drop off's gonna be huge this coming weekend. Probably it's gonna be bad. But yes, with the end of Aqua Talk, I think now with the mention of movies, of lists, of rankings, of everything, I think it is time for Jacob to walk us through his best and worst movies of the year, the top 10 of each. So I will let Jacob take it away. I will let if he wants Cider to do the graphics, obviously Cider will take that. But yeah, lay it on us, Jacob.
So should we start off with let's start off with the best, because I think we can.
All right, let's start off with the best.
Much happy or note here. We can start with the best rather than the worst. So there was a lot of movies I saw. I think my final tally for this year was 107 movies, which I think is down from last year's 124, but a lot of that had to do with the fact that the writer's strike and the actor strike killed a lot of movies this year, and they got pushed back. And by the way, I don't know if you've seen the Rolodex for next year, 2024. It's literally nothing but sequels. Like it's nothing but like part 3s or reboots, part 4s. All across the board. So yeah, it's not great, but here's some of the movies
Joker
that I have
3, Deadpool 3, like everything.
Godzilla Con 4, the Planet of the Apes 7, technically, right? That's all that's coming out next year.
Oh yeah, that's right. Ugh.
Yep. But I did manage to find 10 films that I thought were the best movies of the year. I guess we should go ahead and get started down here. Number 10, a little film called Sympathy for the Devil. So some of you guys may not have heard of this movie. It's a Nicolas Cage movie. Now, believe it or not, Nicolas Cage had like 6 movies come out this year, and that's not even a joke. It was like literally 6.
No, it's not.
But this one was the best one that he did this year. It was a small film with him and Joel Kinnaman. The setup of this film is that Joel Kinnaman is in Las Vegas his wife is about to give birth, and as he's arriving to the hospital, Nicolas Cage literally jumps into the back of his car, holds him at gunpoint, and tells him that you're basically like leaving like the state. And then it goes to this whole story about, it turns out towards the end that Nicolas Cage was actually, his wife was killed by Joel Kinnaman's character. Joel Kinnaman's character used to work for the local mob, and he decided that, after that whole incident that he was going to go out in Las Vegas, change his life, but of course his past came back to haunt him. And it's a very, very well done movie. They're pretty much the only two actors in it for the most part. And it's like I said, it's very, very small scale, but you watch the film, it's like, this is something that you could see like in a movie theater and actually enjoy it. It's 90 minutes, it's straight to the point. Ooh. Very, very well done. So yeah, it's the type of movies that people would actually like be intrigued to go see. So I definitely recommend this one. Sympathy for the Devil.
How does it compare? Because it sounds like, I haven't watched it yet, but from everything I've read, like your reviews and everything, how does it stack up to like Collateral? Because it sounds a lot like Collateral, the Jamie Foxx.
I would say Collateral has a lot more production behind it and has a lot of the star power. So I wouldn't say it's quite as good as Collateral.
Gotcha. Yeah.
For its scale and for everything put together, it's actually and visually it's really, really good too. Like there's some visual scenes on it. There's one point where like an entire diner is like literally on fire and it looks like something out of like a Resident Evil movie, but visually it looks very, very good. And you're like, yeah, and it only costs like a couple $1 million to like put this one together. It's like, why can't we make more of these movies?
I'm shocked.
So that's good. Number 9 is a film called Plane. Now, this one is kind of
I was so surprised to see this. Yeah, I was surprised to see this on your list. Like, genuinely surprised.
Because I'm going to be honest with you, for like a good like few months of the year, this was like my best movie of the year because it's like I watched it. I'm not even like mixing my words here. It's a straightforward action movie, and it's such a straightforward action movie. It's almost like surprising to see in 2023 because it's basically two guys. The whole concept is that the plane goes down. They have a prisoner on board. They go down in like a rogue like island full of like revolutionaries and whatnot, and they have to repair the plane and get off the island. And then they're basically going around shooting paramilitary guys throughout the entire thing. And like I said, it's a straightforward masculine action movie from beginning to end. There's no, oh, here comes climate change, or oh, here comes LGBTQ, or here comes all men. Like, nope, just straightforward action movie, 2 hours in and out, and you're like, wow, that was really good. I didn't think Hollywood would make movies like this anymore. And this is, like I said, it's a very straightforward action movie. You got Michael Coulter here, who's did Luke Cage. Gerard Butler's in the movie. Like I said, you watch this movie and you'll absolutely enjoy this film. It's the type of movie that Hollywood used to make, but they simply don't make anymore. So there's
like this is like the kind of movie you would and I know I bring this comparison up all the time, but like an FX movie at like 2 p.m. on a Saturday, which is not an insult. Like that's a compliment.
Yeah, I mean, especially compared to like all the other crap that we're watching now. I mean, it's definitely much better by comparison. That's number 8.
100%.
Number 8 here is a film called No More Bets. This is actually a film out of China. Shocking that there's a film on this list that came out of China this year. But the reason why I picked this movie is because it's a very, very compelling story about offshore gambling accounts and human trafficking as well. Essentially, there was a kid who had just graduated college, didn't get the job he wants. He hears about this job opportunity in Taiwan. He goes there, immediately gets kidnapped, and he's forced to work in like this basically this scam farm is what it is. So they do like online poker, online gambling and whatnot, where essentially what they do is that they'll let you win a little bit of money to hook you, and then it's like you start putting more and more money in, and then you lose it all. It's like, oh, okay, it's like, oh, I want to get more money in. And one guy, like, his addiction gets so bad he literally loses his family's entire home and then tries to like commit suicide and survives. He jumped off a building and lived, which is pretty bad.
Oh, brutal.
So yeah, it just goes to show you like just how desperate like these people go. And there's a lot of characters involved with this story, and there's a lot of angles to the story as well, because I mean that's just one angle to it. You have the kid who's like trying to find a way to like get out of this whole thing, but he's like really good at what he does, but he knows that it's wrong. He can't get out. The girl you see here is kind of like, you know, the model for like the poker tables. She's there for like being the online face, but she's basically just forced to be there as well. And she tries to escape, but it's like everyone in the small little town is bought off, so she can't even escape either. So it's a very, very good, compelling crime movie. Trying to No More Bets is the name of this one. So check that one out.
For that one, I want to watch that now.
Yeah, very good movie.
Basically, I'm probably gonna say that about every movie, because every time you recommend a movie to me, I've always walk away from it like, yeah, it's great. So anytime you do recommend a movie now, I'm like, top of the list.
Yep. Number 7, shouldn't surprise too many people. Godzilla -1. Very good movie. I actually did see this second time in Screen X, which is like the big, like almost like 180 screen. That if you don't have that,
that's not the one with the chairs, right? Like the stupid like interaction.
No, that's
chairs.
40X.
What is that?
40X.
That's what it is.
Yeah, Screen X is basically like full like 180 angle like screen from like all
like
angles.
The curved ones. Yeah. Okay, I know which one you're talking about.
It's a great movie. It's a redemption movie. It's probably the best Godzilla film you've seen in the last couple of decades. It's not even like a stretch of the imagination, like at all. Especially if you like really don't like the American Godzilla films. Like I like the one that came out in 2014. We argued about this a few weeks ago. But this one's very, very good. It's a good redemption story here. A guy who was supposed to be a kamikaze pilot gets attacked by Godzilla. It basically ruins his entire life, and then like a few years later he gets another chance to go out Godzilla, and this time he's gonna take it. So, and then Godzilla, he's not hero Godzilla in this film whatsoever. This is straight up, I'm gonna destroy everything in my path, Godzilla in this movie. So, and like I said, somehow they made this movie for under $15 million, which it doesn't even like compute of how they were able to make a movie like this for under 15 million.
So insane.
And we spent $300 million on the Marvels. Like, it makes no sense whatsoever. But I know a lot of you guys have already seen it, but if you haven't seen it, go see Godzilla -1. Great film. Number 6 here, The Iron Claw. This is the movie that I just did a review on just a couple days ago. If you're a pro wrestling fan, you probably heard of the Von Erichs. They're a very legendary pro wrestling family, but it is literally the most tragic pro wrestling family you possibly can ever think of. The guy had like 6 sons, 5 of them died, 3 of them by suicide. It's just like one tragic after another. Zac Efron does an amazing job in this film. I don't think he's strong enough to get an Academy Award nomination, but it's definitely a very, very good performance. The only thing that I can knock this film for, and like I said, I mentioned this earlier. In one part of the film, there is a Ric Flair impersonation. There's a promo that Ric Flair in the film is supposed to be cutting here, right? And I'm pretty sure everyone here has seen Ric Flair cut a promo, even during like the 80s, during like the NWO days. I'm pretty sure you guys have heard the Golden Spoon promo and all that. This was such a bad impersonation of Ric Flair. It's like, I don't know how you got so much right about this film. The Von Erichs, you nailed it. The Freebirds nailed it. Harley Race nailed it. How did you get Ric Flair this bad? It's like, it's the one glaring knock on the entire movie. Outside of that, everything about this film is great. So this is easily my number 6 film of the movie of the year right here. So Iron Claw, if you haven't seen it, go see it.
What makes that super funny is I believe it was DC3 earlier in the chat when we were talking about like what you didn't like about Iron Claw, like at the very top of the show. He said like he like asked like Ric Flair, LOL, and I didn't understand what he meant by that. I was just like, why are you bringing up Ric Flair? And now I realize it, and I'm like, wow, he got it. Like he knew exactly what you were gonna go for.
Brutal, all of it brutal. Sound of Freedom is my number 5 movie of the year. Once again, if you've seen this movie, it's no surprise whatsoever to you. The fact that so many people tried to bury this film publicly, tried to smear the movie as it was coming out, because we don't want to give any attention to the reality that a lot of children, especially in second and third world countries, are getting sex trafficked by people who may or may not be in charge of high levels of entertainment in the world and stuff like that. So let's not bring any attention to that. But I mean, I'll put it to you this way. Rob absolutely loved this movie. Rob's a very hard guy to please. And he's like, Rob was saying that when he saw this movie that he almost cried watching it. That's how impactful this film was. So this was a very, very strong film for a lot of people. Like I said, not an ezy watch by any stretch of the imagination, because you do have to acknowledge the fact that this
do
stuff
not
is
watch
really
it
happening.
on a date.
Yeah, exactly. Do not go on a first date and watch this movie. This is not the movie to go to. But yeah, Sound of Freedom is absolutely one of the best movies this year. This is my number 5 on the list here. So a couple movies on here I know you guys haven't seen before. I'll give you a good rundown on. Number 4 is Switch. Switch is a South Korean film here, and this is a good old-fashioned family film, but there's so much more to this here. So the whole idea is it's kind of like Freaky Friday And I think I've made another reference to what this is here too. Christmas Carol, all rolled into one. The setup here is that you have a guy who's a famous actor in like South Korea. He's winning awards. He's getting all the money, all the women and whatnot. But he does have a family, and his best friend is the guy who's been with him from the very beginning. You know, he has a wife, he has a kids, but you know he lives a very low profile life. So they switch lives here.
I want
and now all of a sudden.
Life.
He's the one with the kids. He's the one with the wife. He's not famous and stuff like that. While you know his best friend is the famous one here. And you talk about a movie that you don't really have a lot of movies these days, which is why this is in South Korea, that pushes family, that pushes, you know, actual relationships, that push things that actually matter. And it's really the true message of this film is family over fame. It's like you can have everything that you think that you want, but if you don't actually have what's really important, then you know it really doesn't mean anything at the end of the day. Very, very good film. It's a very heartwarming film. You'll definitely enjoy this one. And like I said, there's really no negatives that I could say about this. I could have said that, oh, you know, these type of movies are cheesy. I didn't feel any kind of cheese with this one. This is a pretty well done movie from start to finish. And I think it's in a year where you don't have a lot of films that make you go, oh yeah, that actually made me happy, and I want to see more of that. This is one of those
right.
films. So the film is called Switch, South Korean film. Definitely check that out when you get the chance.
Like that just sounds like definitely like that's not a movie that would be made by America. Like here it would be the opposite. Like the guy who got fame would be like, he would walk away from the movie being like, yeah, I made the right choice or whatever. Like, see ya, guy.
Yep. And then there's number 3. You may have heard me talk about this throughout the course of the year, but it's a film called The Child. This is probably my favorite action movie of the year. This is a very, very well done movie. Another South Korean film. The whole concept here is that you have a kid who's I think born in like Taiwan, if I'm not mistaken, or grew up in the Philippines. He's an amateur boxer. You know, he's trying to take care of his mother who's sick and whatnot. Never knew his father. One day finds out that his father owns like, you know, a major corporation in Korea. So he gets flied out to meet his father. All of a sudden, like almost immediately, he gets stalked by like this super charismatic serial killer, this hitman. And he doesn't know like who this guy is, but he tells him that, you know, I'm going to be your friend. That he stalks him the whole way there. The second he arrives in Korea, everyone's trying to kill him. Everyone's putting a gun to his face. He has no idea what's going on. Even though this guy over here, who's supposed to be, you know, his friend, pulls a gun on him a couple of times, he has no idea what's going on. You find out that he's been brought here under false pretenses, that his father is sick, that he essentially wants his organs. So all these people have been contracted to bring this guy in alive, but they all pretty much want him dead, except for, you know, the killer here. So it's a very, very crazy, over the top action movie. Very, very charismatic film too. So I mean, this is definitely one that you're gonna love and enjoy here. This is The Child. This is my number 3 movie of the year.
I watched that one after you reviewed it earlier this year, dude. I I love this movie. This movie is so good.
Yeah,
like genuine suspense and like twists. Like, yeah, it's all right. You want to be on that ride.
Absolutely. Number 2, a surprising film, the movie called Tetris. Now, you think a movie about Tetris wouldn't be on my list here, but I watched this film earlier this year. It's on Apple TV currently at the moment. What's his name? Tegrin Edgerton here, who you guys have seen in like Kingsman. What was it? The Elton John movie. He's been in a whole bunch of things here. The whole concept here is that, hey, I have this video game called Tetris and I want to sell the rights. The only problem is that I have to sell the rights in Russia during the height of the Cold War. And, you know, the things get very, very shady. Let's just put it that way. I mean, it's a whole kind of like an espionage thing where he's trying to sell the rights to one company, but he has somebody else who's claiming that, no, I have the rights, and they're trying to sell it for arcades and video games. And this is all about, you know, Japanese politics, Russian politics, the U.S., the kind of the startup and how the whole video game revolution. I mean, this is like during like the arcade game. This is even before, you know, take home video games became a thing. It's like, oh, we want people to go out there to the arcade and spend their money and get that money revenue. And like, dude ends up making an absolute killing off of like the arcade thing of this one. Like, you're talking about a game like Tetris, where I think people like kind of look down on nowadays. But when we're talking about the 80s here, this is a game that generated like billions upon billions of dollars in revenue. Like, this is absolutely
like cultural phenomena. Yeah.
Yeah. But I said this is a very, very well acted movie. Strong performances all across the board. No wasted performances here. And like I said, I just truly love this movie. Like I tried to find flaws in this movie to talk about. I could find very few here. This movie is absolutely deserving of being on one of the top films of the year. Like I said, talking about an Apple TV movie. So there it goes where it goes here. So Tetris is my number 2 movie. And then, of course, number 1 shouldn't surprise too many people. Oppenheimer. This is arguably Christopher Nolan's best film.
Yeah.
I think what really drove this one home with me is the fact that this is a guy who got the absolute best performances out of every single person who's on this movie. I mean, you have to,
every single person, dude.
Even Eden Eldrick, who's the guy who played Solo here. Keep in mind, when he did Solo like 5 years ago, they were burying him publicly, saying that this guy couldn't act. He had to get acting lessons while they were shooting the movie, completely burying him, saying his acting ability. He gets the absolute best performance out of it. Like, arguably, he's one of the best actors in the entire film. Like, that's how good he is in this one.
When I saw him, I was like, this is like, my brain was like, this is such a good performance. And it took a second for me to click. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. That's Han Solo. Dude, this guy rules. Oh my God. Like, where have they been hiding him? Like, get him out here.
Yep. I mean, like, everyone killed it in this movie. Obviously, Robert Downey Jr., Emily Blunt did a good job in this film. I mean, Cillian Murphy, Matt Damon, like I said, there was not a single wasted performance in this film. And the way that they were able to shoot around things just shows that, Christopher Nolan, whether you like him or not, is a dying breed of filmmaker, one who actually tries with his craft and actually, does old school filming techniques that people just don't do anymore. So there's a reason why this one's getting a lot of award nominations right now and absolutely deserves it. This is my number 1 film of the year.
Like, after watching this movie, my reaction was, I don't ever want to hear anybody talk about like Iron Man and Robert Downey Jr. in the same sentence ever again. Like, this performance is so good. I was just like, I don't have like, and like Tony Stark is a good performance, but he's so damn good in Oppenheimer that I was just like, that's it. Don't ever talk about the Marvel universe with him again.
So those are my top 10 movies of 2023. So like I said, if you haven't seen any of those movies on that list, I definitely recommend it. There are some good movies out there. I know it doesn't look like it. Not all of those films came out in movie theaters here in the United States. Some came on streaming, some were overseas, but there were some good movies to be found here in 2023. So I know the top 10 worst isn't live yet, but can we still
preview? Yeah, absolutely. Let's get into it. If you you want me to pull it up? Is that what you're saying?
I mean, I can pull it out because I mean, like I said, we're basically just like all I need is like the pictures and the name, and like we don't need to go through it.
I'm cool with that. We're cool with that. Yeah, go for it.
All right. So, top 10 worst films of the year, and yes, I had to cut it down to 10. So, number 10 was The Marvels. I mean, look, I debated whether this movie was going to make the list or not. It almost didn't make the list, but for me, the reason why it's on here is because it is such a poorly structured film. Like, we talked about it here on the podcast weeks ago. It's like when I was watching this, I got to the point where Brie was doing jumping jacks with Beastie Boys playing in the background.
Yep.
And it's like, what is this movie? Like, there's no direction to this. There's no actual stakes here. There's no heat. The enemy isn't good. She gets cast away towards the end and like the stupidest reason they could possibly like think of. Like, this is a movie that you understand watching this movie why it got shelved for 18 months. Like, this is pretty much where it comes down to here. So, like I said, it's not the worst. Well, you can argue whether this is worse than Eternals. Personally, I still think Eternals is worse than this movie.
I still think Eternals is worse.
But this one is definitely near the bottom.
It's like
of the
this,
barrel.
Jacob. Like they both kind of did the same thing, where they're both really like meaningless and meandering and don't really go anywhere, and you don't really care about them. But at least the Marvels had the decency to be like 90 minutes instead of like 3 hours or whatever Eternals is.
Yeah, and unfortunately, there's a lot of other movies on here that thought that being 2.5 hours was a good thing. But let's drop down here to number 9, The Creator. I hated this movie.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this movie was just absolute.
What's his name? John David Washington, right?
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing was just stupid, and I mean, there's a whole layer here of just like transhumanism, and that it basically perverts everything to like, oh yeah, AI is gonna be the ones that saves us from the humans, not the other way around. And it's like,
oh wow,
the whole plot is very, very stupid. It's very subversive. it is context here, and then you just like watch it. Like, look, visually, I guess with the effects of the people, like the back of the heads and the little robot, looks great for its budget. But I mean, there's nothing going on here. I don't know why people think that Denzel Washington's son is a leading man actor. He's really not. This is like I said, Tenet was bad. This film was bad. I'm pretty sure there was a couple other ones that were bad.
He's been in like 2 other ones I remember that were like, bleh.
They keep trying, but it's like, yeah, you're not your dad. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, I'm not saying that he just sucks altogether, but it's like you keep asking him to carry a film for you, and it's not working out. So
yeah, they keep treating him like he's his dad, but he's not there yet, and it shows.
No, not at all. Number 8 here, Scream 6. This should be a surprise to no one, especially if you read how much I hated Scream 5 last year, which was also in my top 10 worst movies of the year. This one was just as bad. Now, I'll say this. I don't know if it was worse than 5. It's hard to judge because here's the concept here, right? Well,
I'm going off of your reviews. I'm like, oh, it's close. Like I didn't watch them. I didn't know what you thought, and I'm like, it's close.
It's really like push a bean one way or another, and that's pretty much how you decide which one is worse. But this whole film, like we talked about how they changed all the characters to be more diversity and inclusive, and the whole concept here is that the Mexican girl here is Billy Loomis's daughter from the first movie, which I don't know how he had an affair with a Mexican woman before he met Sydney, because that's the only way that could possibly happen, but somehow it did. And the whole, like I said, the reveal here is the same thing as the first movie. It's like, okay, who are the white people? They're the killers. Like, you don't have to watch any further than that, And I sat there for like almost 2 hours thinking, okay, maybe I'm gonna be wrong this time. And then turns out I wasn't wrong. And then not only was I not wrong, the reveal is that the family was the family of her boyfriend who she killed in the first movie. Literally her father, her sister, his sister, and his brother. And that's like, you dated this guy for how long? You didn't see a single photo of any of his family members the entire time you were together? Because if it was literally his immediate family, you're muted by the way, but if it was his immediate family, you should have known right off the bat that it was them. Like it's such a dumb, stupid like twist that it makes no sense whatsoever.
That's like what I was talking about in Aquaman. It's like one of those movie moments where it's like you wanted him to trick you all these years because no photos, you didn't ask a question, you didn't, ever I'm right there with you, Jacob.
Yeah. And then hey, at least the good news is that we won't get Scream 7 because that whole thing's falling apart because the actors are arguing over Israel and Palestine. So it's literally so woke it killed its own franchise. So there you go.
A lot of that happening lately.
Yeah. I mean, hey, let the cards fall. That's all I gotta say there.
Right? You made your beds.
Number 7, House Party. Now, when I did my review in January, I said that if there are 5 movies worse than this year, we're in trouble. And obviously, this is number 7, so it's not great. This is LeBron James's remake of House Party. It really has nothing to do with the first film whatsoever. It's just a remake of the film that's surrounded entirely around LeBron James. It's all about celebrity worship. It's like every single scene. It's like, oh, hey, here's Juvenile. Oh, hey, here's Maya. Oh, hey, here's this other rapper from 20 years ago you vaguely remember. And then at the very end, it's like, oh, LeBron James is here. Isn't that great? And then there's like this weird scene towards the end with like Kid Cudi and the Illuminati where they got to break into like a satanic Illuminati party to get LeBron James replica ring. It's like what is this? Where did this film go? Like this was bad. So not only did he make the worst Space Jam movie, he also made the worst House Party movie. So that the 0 for 2 for Mr. LeBron James.
I don't know if you guys know the streaming platform Plex, which is basically like it lets you create your own like media library, but it has this feature that when you like leave it idle, instead of like going like with a logo or blank, it'll show like movie posters for the things you have in your collection. And literally earlier today I was sitting there and I was like watching some of them just go by like idly, and House Party popped up because I had to get it for when I got the images for your review, and I just was like, it all came flooding back to me, and I was like, "Oh man, I forgot how bad this movie was. I forgot this was even a thing. Like this was super bad."
This like I said, to show you how bad this year got, especially towards the second half. up until like June, this was my number one worst movie of the year. It's like, so
Dude,
it had a
I
good
remember,
run
like,
at number
June-
one for like 6 months.
After June, everything just like it was like every time I talked to you after that, it was like, oh yeah, now I've got a new contender, got a new contender, got a new contender, and I was just like, what happened?
Oh, it got worse. That's all I gotta say.
As
there.
we'll see, yeah.
Number 6, The Color Purple. This is a movie that I just saw. This is literally the last movie I watched this year. Just saw it a couple of days
Finally,
ago.
let's get into it.
I'll put it to you this way: if Barbie is the flag bearer of white woman feminism, this is the flag bearer of black woman feminism. This pretty much all it is here is that men are bad, men are evil, and women need to overcome men at all odds. Like, this is literally the entire message of the film. You have the story here is that you have this young girl who has a father who sold her off to some other dude who treats her like crap, and then she ends up getting married to some other dude who treated her like crap. So all the men, literally every single man in her life she's ever known, is just an absolute like it's a terror, right? So every single man in this film is a rapist, an abuser, a coward, just very, very hateful. Like, there's no redeeming men in this film whatsoever, and they constantly like hit up the same narrative over and over again. It's like, you know, you can't let a man tell you what to do. You can't let a man control you. You don't need, like, it's literally, come on, this movie is 2 hours and 20 minutes. So it's 2 hours and 20 minutes nonstop of this message over and over and over and over again. And until the roll credits. So this is probably one of my most insufferable movie experiences of the year. If it wasn't my very last movie of the year, I probably would have left sooner than I did. But yeah, I even tried to give it the benefit of the doubt. There's nothing redeemable about this movie here. This is solidly my number 6 worst movie of 2023. So avoid The Color Purple. Number 5, Knock at the Cabin. This is one that the more I thought about it, the more I actually hated this film. And
is this the M. Night one?
M. Night Shyamalan.
Yeah.
So look, when you saw the previews for this movie, you were like, okay, what's the twist here? It's like, we all know it's coming, right? So the whole concept is that you have the two gay couple with their adopted Asian daughter in a cabin in the middle of the woods on vacation. And then Dave Bautista and these 3 other chuckle fucks over here just show up out of nowhere. And they're like, well, one of you guys got to figure out who's going to die. Because if you don't, then the end of the world is going to happen. So they're like, no, we're not killing each other. So as one person decides to off themselves here, one plague is released upon the world. And it's like, you got to do it now or the world's going to end and all humanity's going to die. And it's like, you're trying to figure out, okay, what the hell is going on here? This was the explanation given at the end of the film. Is that these 4 chuckle fucks are actually the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, which if you actually read the Bible, there's technically 5, not 4, but we'll get to that later on. So, by the way, one of the 4 horsemen is the Antichrist. I guess they didn't figure that out later. So the whole thing's that they're the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, and that
he's the leader.
Because the gay couple's love is so strong, one of them has to sacrifice themselves for the good of humanity. If they choose not to do so, then all humanity is going to die. And then at the very last minute, one of them decides to shoot themselves, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, the plagues have stopped. The world has been saved. And then roll credits. And that's the film.
That was easy.
Yeah.
Yes, that's like the running trend tonight. Like, that was easy.
Yeah. So that was like I said, the more I thought about this movie, the more I hated it. And here's another thing too, just a quick little side rant. Can we stop pretending like Dave Bautista is a good actor? Like, can we just stop with this nonsense?
We really need to stop.
I mean, he's the same person like every movie. It's like, oh, well, he has more diverse roles than The Rock. That doesn't mean he's good. It's not at all. Like, let's stop acting like Dave Bautista has acting range. He doesn't. Like, enough.
He has one range, and like maybe like the furthest he's ever gone was like slightly tearing up in Blade Runner, and like I don't know. Yeah, I'm with you. I don't know where all this praise comes from.
Number 4 here, The Blackening. This is a film that I called this when I wrote this review earlier. This is basically Black Twitter the movie. Like every reference that you read on Black Twitter on a daily basis when you go on X gonna give it to you. Everything is in this movie here. It's like the whole concept is that, you know, well, we don't do scary movies because this is a white people thing. So it's like we're parroting Saw, but we're not parroting Saw. And the whole concept of this film is that you have like the one like dorky black dude who went crazy because apparently he left a party and being told that he wasn't black enough, and by the result of doing that he ended up crashing into a woman when he went home and killed her, and it ruined his life. So he wanted to get revenge on these people, and then they all hate him because he's a Trump supporter. They think he should die anyway, and I'm not making that up. That's literally in the film. Like when they thought he had died at one point, he was like, well, he did vote for Trump, so I guess it's okay. Like that was kind of the whole concept of the film. And it's like, who put this together? And I think the person who wrote this was like literally some like schmuck who graduated DePaul University and probably did like 2 episodes of The Daily Show, and they decided, oh yeah, let's let this person write and direct the movie. And then this is the movie that he wrote and direct, and it's absolutely awful in a giant waste of time.
The continued disappointment of the 2-credit TV writer to Hollywood pipeline. Like, this is not the first time we've seen this.
Yeah, so this one, I debated where this one would go higher, but I think it's, given the movies that are above it, I think this is a good place to have it here at number 4. So that jumps us over to number 3. Now, number 3 might shock you because if you guys listen to me, I've trashed this movie for quite some time. It is Joyride. Joyride, yes! For a stretch there,
so high.
was the number 1 worst movie of the year. Me, Rick, and Rob all hated this movie, and I think that I was the person who stayed in watching this the longest. I think I made it about 50 minutes in before I walked out. Literally, all 3 of us walked out of this movie. Yeah. It's absolutely terrible. The whole concept here is that you have 4 Asian girls, and keep in mind this is a Seth Rogen produced film, so let that be known here. It's 4 Asian girls, one who was raised by a white family. And for whatever reason, she's on a business trip. She needs to go to China, and they decide that this would be a good time for her to meet her birth mother for some weird reason. So they go to China, and basically the whole thing just devolves into drugs and sex for like 90 minutes. And the plot doesn't make any sense at all. It really doesn't even matter after a certain point of this whole thing. What was that dude's name? He used to play for the Clippers. It was like Byron something.
Oh my God, I can see him in my, like, I'm just gonna look it up because I can see him. But yeah, keep going.
He's in the movie for some weird cameo for some reason, and then his whole plot point devolves into the
Byron
main character.
Mullins. That's who it was. Byron Mullins.
Was it Brian Mullins? No, I don't think it was somebody else.
Okay,
we'll get it up here in a second. But the whole plot of him being in this film devolves into our main protagonist essentially having like an orgy with the basketball players on the team. Byron Davis, that's the name. Thank you. Byron Davis is
Davis. Yes. Player. Okay. There we go. Davis. Yes.
And like I said, nothing about this like makes any sense whatsoever. It's just dumb degeneracy for the sake of dumb degeneracy. all the so-called funny bits you've seen in the trailer. So it's like there's one point where this chick just comes in and like throws drugs all over everyone. It's like, you all drug criminals now. So everyone's freaking out. It's like, oh, I have to down all these pills and put cocaine up my butt. And this is so hilarious because this is Seth Rogen comedy 101. It's just like,
seriously.
No. It's like he thinks that this shit is hilarious. It's like you've written this whole joke into the ground over the last 15 years. It's like it's not funny anymore. It was funny once, and you keep doing it over and over and over again. He thinks that, well, if I do it this time with Asian women, then another way is going to be funny again. It's like, no, it makes it significantly worse. And then we come to find out at the end of the movie that she was Korean the whole time. So everything about this film was pointless. So yeah.
Weird. So what a weird what a weird ride.
Yeah, that was another bit. It was like they were trying to sneak back into the country, so they decided, oh, let's pose as a K-pop band. So they literally pose as K-pop stars, and they have to sing Cardi B's WAP in order to get back into the United States. And it's like, this is just so bad. Like the comedy here is just missing on like all cylinders here. It's like every single shot missed. It's almost like a stormtrooper. It's just not great.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm taking away from that. Ugh. I'm still surprised it's that high, so I'm really excited to see what comes below it.
Ooh, number 2, and this one didn't go up there till recently, but 80 for Brady, because this is another movie that all 3 of us watch, and we couldn't figure out a single positive thing to say about this movie. It's boring. It's not good. No one here is, I guess, identifiable whatsoever. The whole concept here is that you have a bunch of old women who are all Tom Brady fans when he was on the Patriots, obviously. And keep in mind, Tom Brady produced this movie. And they decide, oh, well, one of us has beat cancer, so we're going to go to the Super Bowl and watch Brady win his ring against the Rams. So it's situational comedy at best, but it never really works out. There's random cameos that don't make any sense. Like Guy Fieri is in this movie for some reason. It's just like, why? It's like, why? Like him, Billy Porter is in this movie at some point. It's like Rob Gronkowski is in the film. It's like nothing about this film makes any sense whatsoever. It's so bad. Like, I don't know what more to tell you. It's just bad.
Yeah, right? Like, say no more. Wow. Like, yeah. I figured it would be bad when I saw the, like, concept in the trailer, but I thought it would be bad in just sort of like an eye roll way, but this just sounds like this sounds like a vanity project where he just got all of his friends together, whoever was on the lot for some like one day, and that's so weird.
The moral of the story is
I didn't know he produced it.
The moral of this story is basically stop letting athletes be movie producers because they're not good at it.
Please.
So then, of course, the number one movie of the year, worst movie of the year. I have some honorable mentions. I'm not sure if those are going to make it, but we can just throw it in there. Dick's the Musical.
It is. It made it. It stayed in first.
Stone cold. Like I said, I was certain that Joyride was going to be the number one worst movie of the year until I saw this movie, and I was like, nope. We have a new contender now for worst film of. I don't know. This is an A24 film, so. You heard my rant about A24. They're either absolute dog crap movies or they're somehow one of the best movies of the year. It makes no sense. Like it's complete, bipolar when it comes to that studio.
Yeah.
But here's the concept of this film. This is something that they actually released in theaters for people to watch. And shocker, no one watched this movie. The concept here is that you have two guys who are clearly, obviously gay, pretending to be straight, male, misogynistic men working for business. They find out that they're actually identical twins, even though they don't look alike, but that's kind of the running gag here. So they decide that, hey, we're going to formulate a plan to get mom and dad back together. And then that doesn't work. So then towards the end of the movie, for some inexplicable reason, they just decide, oh, okay, well, let's have sex with each other and get married. And it's like, how do we even make this turn like in the film? And not only did they decide to do that, so it's literally promoting incest, but now the wedding is being ordained by a flamboyantly gay Asian person who is claiming to be God. And the final song of the movie is that, I'm not even making this up, it's called God is a Faggot. And they sing that for like 4 minutes as the film ends. And then the movie is over. It doesn't even have 80 minutes worth of runtime to justify its existence of the movie. Like I said, it's barely 80 minutes long. It's like 86 minutes. And 5 of that is probably the credits.
And that song, that's insane. Wow.
Yeah. So this movie not only set gay rights. This movie not only set gay rights back about 30 years. Like if someone commits a hate crime in the next few weeks and they say, well, I watched this movie, I would say, you know what, honor, they're justified. Let them do it.
Mulligan. Yeah, everybody gets one.
It's like you should have just led with that, not guilty. And then So yeah, this is I don't even know what this film was and why anyone thought this was a good. This is a film that is only made for rich New York liberals who live in New York City and nowhere else in the country, because they're the only ones who even knows what this is, the only ones who would pretend like this is a good film. This is universally just panned by just everybody else with any shred of human decency. Like, look, I've seen some pretty far left people play like, what the hell were you even doing with this movie? It's like, it's literally spitting on God. Quite literally, everything about this movie is spinning in the face of God. And like I said, even the most progressive left-wing people you could think of were like, dude, no, like absolutely not. Like, what are you doing here? So yeah, this is my number one pound for pound worst movie of 2023, and there's my list. So you guys got a list of movies.
Thank you for your service.
You guys got a list of 10 movies that you definitely need to go watch this year on my best list, and then 10 movies to absolutely avoid, like your life depends on it. So there you go. That's 2023 in a nutshell.
Oh man, thank you for that. Like you are my main movie source. I always love your reads on it. I know everybody else here does, and yeah, that was awesome. It's definitely worth the wait. I'm still surprised by the worst list. But yeah, guys, with that, I think we've gone, wait a minute. I believe I believe.
Yeah, that's the laser.
We-
the laser's
I believe-
charged.
I
We have a
believe the
weapon,
laser
right?
is charged. Yeah, I believe the
We have a
laser is
weapon.
charged, and it's hot enough to what is it? Evaporate some water, if you will.
Mhm.
Sure.
So I'll let
You
you
ready?
take it away whenever you're ready, Sergeant.
All right, then.
Firer.
Here we go.
Even if we made a laser ourselves and actually got the money to fire it and blow up like an Aquaman toy, we would have spent or wasted less money than Warner Brothers had in making this entire film.
Yep.
But with that, guys, go ahead.
I wish we can just like laser all those bad movies just out of existence. It's like literally like smite them so that they'll never return.
Like
ever
the
again.
what is that old video game where like Missile Command, where you shoot it up and it like blows up everything coming in? Like that's what we need to do for Jacob's worst movies list.
Space Invaders one, yeah.
Yes, exactly. Maybe that'll be the next movie that Jacob will love too, a Space Invaders movie. But yes, guys, I think with that, we will call it here for tonight. We have gone 30 minutes over our regular runtime. Obviously, I want to thank everybody who stopped by the chat. We had, JC, DZ, a couple new people. We had, where was he? Swift Fox Mark II, Veritas Eterna. Hey, it's me in HD, DZ, all you guys. It was fantastic to hang out with you, as it is always every week. I know we had Scott in here from Sporking. I want to make sure I gave him a shout out. RJ McCready. If I didn't grab you, just know I saw you and I love you. With that, I will let everybody else take it away. Let you guys know what they have going on, and we'll start right back with you, Jacob. What have you got?
So yeah, I've been off this week. Obviously, a holiday break, so we hadn't had any streams in the last week. But
I need to yell at you about that. What am I supposed to do with my week? Like I've literally
I don't know.
Talk
to your family,
exactly.
walk your dog.
No. I demand the Barroom podcast, and I demand it now. I demand the Bible lens.
Well,
my days are gapped.
Be careful what you ask for, because in a few weeks here, we're going to be having our Barroom podcast. We're going to dedicate an entire 2-hour show to Echo.
I can't wait.
We're going to review all 5 episodes of Echo on a 2-hour Barroom podcast. It's going to be absolutely amazing, and it's coming soon. So there you go.
And we will definitely let you guys, we will blast it from the Bounding account when that stream is happening. We will make sure it's happening. And then Saturday, right? Sunday is our review stream. Recap.
This Saturday, we're going to be bringing on a whole bunch of people to talk about their best and worst movies of the year. So Rob would be there, Rick would be there, Christian Toto, Shagsworth. I'm trying to get Chris, what's his name? Culture Casino on there. Mephisto should be on that show. I'm trying to get Epic Mike on the show. So yeah, there's going to be a whole bunch of people that are going to be on that show talking about their best and worst movies of the entire year. So it's going to be great.
Yeah, and we'll definitely blast that one out too. So you guys will see it. Don't even worry, but I'm definitely looking forward to that. And with that, Cider, my man, what have you got going on? Anything fun?
Not at the moment. It's Christmas time. There's a Sky Talker tomorrow right here on this channel at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, hosted by Stephen Kent. They're planning on taking apart the new trilogy now that information about KK's inner workings has finally started to leak out.
Oh boy, KK Star Wars. It's just so hard for me to even to even. I care, but I don't care. Does that make any sense?
Kind of.
Yeah, right. It doesn't really. But yeah, as for me, guys, you can obviously check out Bounding Into Comics every day. There are articles going up all the time, whether from me, Josh, Nerdigans. Who else do we even have on the team off the top of my head? JB.
Not me. I just read them.
Yeah, Mark Claire. I know you're the video guy. I'll get to that. But so you can check out articles every day on the website. You can obviously check out things every day here on the YouTube channel, where Cider is handling it with daily uploads of, he covers the biggest news of the day. He also hosts every stream you see on this channel. I believe you still have the Monday show, right?
Yeah, it's with Jacob.
Yeah. Oh, okay, cool. Then yeah, so definitely check out everything these guys are doing here. If you want more of me personally, you can find me on Twitter at Kabuto Rider Mav. You can also check out my own YouTube channel, where I host a live stream every week at 5 p.m. Pacific time on Fridays, where we deep dive into sort of, more niche topics like anime, tokusatsu, video games that you might not get around the sphere. So check that out if that's of any interest of you. Yeah, with that, this is our last show before the new year turns over. So I want to wish everyone a happy new year. Let's, while I highly doubt entertainment is going to get, that significantly better or better at all in the coming year, I hope that everybody else's everyone here, our personal lives get great. Follow Cider's advice. He's the best for motivation if you need that spark. And yeah, we will see you in the coming years in the coming year. We'll see. Yeah, we'll see you in January.
Good luck out there.
Take it easy, everyone.